The Campbell Conference Finals have been all you could want in a series and more. Records have been achieved. Yeri Curry's game-winning goal Thursday night tied Wayne Gretzky's mark for the most postseason goals ever. The checking has been fierce in this series. Goaltenders and superstars have not been spared. The intensity throughout has been high. The Oilers are one win away from the finals, and the Blackhawks must come to life to play another day. Game 6 is on tap tonight. Live from Chicago Stadium in Chicago, Illinois, Sports Channel presents the quest for the Cup. It's the Chicago Blackhawks and the Edmonton Oilers in the Campbell Conference Finals. Hello again, everybody. Pat Foley and Dale Talon from the stadium. Game 6 here tonight as Edmonton tries to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, going for their 5th Stanley Cup. And if they're to do that, they're going to have to win the battle of the boards. A little bit tighter quarters here in the stadium, and Edmonton showed they can be effective in a smaller rink in Game 4.
Well, in Game 4, they changed their style. They lost in Game 3 with a weave and motion type style, their finesse type game, and it didn't work for them. They lost 5-1. They came back in the pivotal game in the series in Game 4 and played a grinding type style and won the game, which might be the whole series. That particular contest, the way they played, they went into the nuts and bolts of hockey. They played an old school type game. Defensively, they were outstanding. They bumped and worked it hard in the corners along the boards against Chicago and won a very important Game 4, and then went on to Edmonton and dominated the first period of that particular game and hung on to win.
You talked about old school. There's nobody more old school than the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, Mark Messier. He was the pivotal figure in Game 4, and he was strong again in Game 5.
In Game 5, he was as good as he was in Game 4. Didn't get the point production, but he had 2 goals and 2 assists in Game 4. He's got a 9-game scoring streak going, and he is the leader of this team by far.
Meanwhile, in the first 3 games of the series, John Muckler said that it was a Savard-Larmer dominating series for the Chicago Blackhawks, and those are the fellas he'll be trying to pay attention to.
Well, in Games 4 and 5, he put Esa-Tikkanen on Savard. It's worked to a degree. Savard's still getting his points, but he's getting a lot of his points on the power play. The 2 key factors for the Blackhawks, Savard and Larmer, obviously has come through with big nights again.
Hawks have scored 16 goals in the series. Those 2 have accounted for 6 of them. Meanwhile, for the Edmonton Oilers, their kid line has been playing well, and as the series has gone along, they've gotten better. Adam Graves, an important figure there.
They were the best line by far in Game 5. Jelena and Murphy. Graves at center, can play left wing and center, but he's been aggressive in his forechecking, and that line has put the most pressure on the Blackhawks throughout the series.
The Blackhawks hope to get on a plane to Edmonton tomorrow. If they're to do that, they need some output from a couple of guys who have really been missing.
Well, Adam Creighton has got 1 assist in the 5-game series, and Steve Thomas has the lone goal. Both of them struggling. They need to come through in a big way. They're their top 2 goal scorers. The Blackhawks can't have any passengers tonight. They had 6 or 8 guys out of the game in Game 5 that didn't really perform well.
In 5 games of this semifinal series, there's been 1 major penalty. I'll be amazed if we can still say that at the end of the night. I imagine we're going to have a very physical, very intense hockey game here.
Well, we've had a lot of stick work, though, besides the fact there's only been 1 major, and that was Lemieux running over the goaltender. It's been a nasty series as far as the stick situations. The Blackhawks were undisciplined in Game 5, took a lot of unnecessary retaliatory penalties, had 8 penalties, 5 of them were high-sticking, 2 were slashing, and 1 was a cross-checking. So they must play a more disciplined game here tonight.
That's just what Mike Keenan was stressing before the game tonight, and he was the man who called attention to the stick work, yet it was his team that fell victim to the calls in Game 5. Here we are in Game 6. The Hawks twice this year have been at the brink, playing in a decisive game. Both times they've emerged victorious. They'll need to do it again tonight if they hope to extend their season. The Oilers have Boston on their mind. We'll start Game 6 after this.
Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel America are brought to you by Heineken and Amstel Light, America's #1 imported beers. They're the tops. By Pert Wash and Go, Dandruff Control Pert Plus, Dandruff Shampoo plus Complete Conditioner all in one. By Nike, who reminds you to just do it. By Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
The Oilers, a veteran playoff team for the most part. Most of the people who will be seeing a lot of ice for Edmonton have been through this type of situation before, and the Blackhawk captain hoping to provide another spark for his team, as he's been able to do a couple of times in this series.
Well, the question is, how healthy is Dirk Graham? He's having a very hard time walking. The cracked kneecap, missed a lot of the remaining part of the season, and also did some damage in the last game here where he was run over by Steve Smith and almost did some ligament damage as well. So that leg is not at 100%, but Dirk Graham, his heart is there, and he's been a quiet leader in the playoffs. Every time he's performed, the Hawks have done well.
We're getting ready for Game 6, the Hawks and the Oilers. First, though, let's enjoy both the Canadian and American national anthems.
Bill Ranford's been the main man throughout the playoffs. 17th appearance. He's won 11, lost 5, and a 2.86 goals against average. Greg Millen did not start Game 5. Gets the action here in Game 6. 14th appearance, 6 wins and 5 losses. And 4th appearance against the Oilers with 2 wins and a loss.
Here are the officials tonight. The referee, veteran Andy Van Hellemond, and the linesman, also fellas have been around for a while, Gord Rossiter and Kevin Collins. Messier, Simpson, and Anderson open up for the Oilers. Lemieux at center for Chicago with Sutter and Graham. And if the Hawks get this in, they'll be trying to bang and crash early. I said Sutter, I should have said Murray. Here's Graham, a long shot, easy blocker saved by Ranford, and a penalty right off the get-go. At the 8-second mark, Mark Messier will have a seat.
Well, interesting to see Mike Keenan's thoughts here to start. Jocelyn Lemieux, somehow he has to stop Mark Messier, and he puts Lemieux, who's been a banger and a crasher since coming over from the Canadiens. He tied up Messier right off the bat. Messier tried to interfere with him, and Van Helmen calls it. 8 seconds into the period after Dirk Graham let one go. Lemieux is upended by Messier as he attempted to get to a deflected shot in the corner. Well, Messier has spent little time in the penalty box, only 2 minutes in penalties in the series, and that's unbelievable. As physical and as dominant as he's been in this series, only a second penalty.
Blackhawk power play in the series, 3 out of 19. Troy Murray with Savard and Larmer, Bob Murray and Wilson at the point. It's McTavish on for the Oilers along with Lamb, Lowe and Muni, the defense, and here's a big hit by Murray, knocking Lowe to his rear end. Here's Wilson holding it in, trying to flip it in front, missing Troy Murray. Bob Murray holds it in. Centered it, Larmer couldn't find it. Wilson does. Put it to Troy Murray. Into the corner and Larmer. Back to Bob Murray at the line. The long shot is blocked and deflected right on. And a save by Ranford. The Oilers player went down in front of the shot. It seemed to get a piece of it. But Ranford alertly able to grab it and hang on.
One thing the Oilers defense has been able to do, they did it against Los Angeles very well, and that was block a lot of shots in front and prevent second attempts at Ranford. That time Ranford got a piece of the deflected shot, and Muni came over and cleared the front of the net so that the Blackhawks' Troy Murray couldn't get to a rebound. Steve Larmer to Bob Murray at the point. Bob Murray in Game 3 got things going with a goal and had an assist. He tried to let one go that deflected up into the midsection, and Ranford made the save as Muni cleared the front.
Into the far corner. Troy Murray knocked down, but still got it out of there to Bob Murray at the line. Murray far point, moved it to Wilson. Now Savard. Here's the shot. He just missed the far post. Bob Murray holds it in. Gave it to Wilson. The long drive is blocked by Lamb, who then clears to center right. And the Hawks will bang it right back in there. Charlie Huddy hammers it around the boards. Knocked by Murray. Then on a second chance, Steve Smith cleared.
Mark Lamb limps off. They're blocking the Doug Wilson shot, but Savard very nearly missed.
Here's Roenick into the Oilers zone, got surrounded, and Smith cleared it to center ice. Tikkanen. Well, they call a two-line pass. Gord Prosker said no. Kevin Collins said yes, that it was a two-line effort. So when the whistle blew, they had to stop, but Prosker was going to let that go.
Well, it hit Dave Manson's stick, so it should have been an onside play. Tikkanen picked it up. He was ahead of the line, but the puck was stopped by Manson. Dennis Savard just missed the far post by an inch with Troy Murray screening Ranford. If it's on, it's in. Ranford had no idea with the shot. Well, meanwhile, Lamb went down on his knees in front of Doug Wilson and blocked the shot. A fine Mark Lamb has been for the Oilers in the regular season and in the playoffs.
Now with the draw at center, it's shot down into the Oilers zone. 45 seconds for the Hawk power play. Ranford's clearing effort is held in. To Thomas, and a save by Ranford. Roenick. His shot deflecting up high. Thomas after it, can't find the handle. And then a diving Tikkanen chopped it out to center ice. Hawks barely miss again on the power play. Now they dump it in. Muni got a big hit from Creighton and Roenick behind the net. Now Muni cleared it to the far side, held it by Yanni to Thomas. Long flip shot sails just wide as Creighton couldn't redirect it. Wilson now trying to center, picked off the lead for Tikkanen, and he's in. Esa Tikkanen, the short-handed breakaway on Millen. He scores! Esa Tikkanen, after the Hawks threatened 3 times with great chances, the Oilers with the outlet to Tikkanen, 1-0 Edmonton.
Well, you also have to get some breaks if you're going to win a playoff series, especially when you get to the semifinals. Doug Wilson was thinking about shooting, tried to pass diagonally into Steve Thomas coming on the far side. His shot never got through. It was cleared to the neutral zone. Tikkanen up at the red line was onside, faked, went to the forehand, and just tucked it past Millen and in. And the Oilers score first on short-handed goal. He scored 22 in the regular season, and Tikkanen didn't have much room to put it by Millen.
Now here's the draw. They're down into the Oilers zone. Hudson making only his second appearance of the series. Couldn't get to his center pass. Cutter! His shot deflected wide. Good block by Smith. Now into the near corner it goes. Pete Smith able to clear it ahead. Messier back on the ice for the Oilers. To Graves, over the line back to Messier as he broke for the puck. His stick came up and clipped him. And Messier right off to the Edmonton bench. With both teams at full strength, there's an offside call against the Oilers. Mark Messier getting a face full of lumber inadvertently as he came into the Hawk zone. It's early. It's 1-0 Edmonton.
Thanks.
Mark Messier in that last shift got an accidental high stick in the face. Adam Graves one-on-one with Conroy. Conroy's stick comes up and clips Messier just to the side of his mouth. That's Tikkanen's 10th goal of the playoffs from Muni. A shorthanded goal at 2:01, and the Oilers strike first.
Joel Murphy to the corner. Conroy took him off the puck. Now Graves after it. Poked it to the near side where Gilbert is unable to clear. Now in behind the Hawk goal. Taken by Dwayne Sutter. Sutter knocked down in the far corner. He and Jelena continue to battle. Came loose to Murphy, back of the net, unchecked, put it in front. Here's a shot by Bokaboom. It's blocked, and it's taken by Hudson. Gilbert put himself to the ice to get the shot blocked. Hudson in traffic the other way. Wouldn't pull the trigger as Bokaboom rides into the corner. Now Huddy able to clear it to center and Graves. His long shot, a blocker saved by Millen. Taken by Manson. To Bob Murray. Tipped it ahead to Larmer. Steve Larmer on right wing in over the line. Crisscrossing. Trying to feed for Creighton in the near corner. He's tied up there, and Messier takes it out of there for the Oilers. Clearing for Tikkanen. Manson stopped that rush at center. Tikkanen getting it back. His feed stolen by Creighton. Trying to get it to Larmer, but Messier all over him. And the Oilers' Anderson works up the near side. Creighton stole it. Shot it into the Oilers' zone. Rutsalainen back of his own net to Messier. He nearly gave it away to Larmer, but it's cleared to center. And winds up back in the Chicago zone. There's going to be a penalty coming up here against the Oilers. It might be Messier again. Here come the Hawks, a lead missing Graham, however, and the whistle sounds. And Andy Van Hellemond will give the second straight penalty of the game to Mark Messier, I believe, who can't believe it. He's already off to the Edmonton bench. 4 minutes gone in the first period. The Hawks going to the power play. It's Edmonton 1, Chicago 0.
The Hawks did all the retaliating in Game 5. Messier now does it twice. He interfered first with Lemieux. Takes exception to a Lemieux hit, gets the elbow up and gets caught. 2 straight penalties to Messier, and the Hawks get the early power play opportunities.
Here's Steve Thomas banking it into the Oilers zone. Roenick on the near board. Hold it into the corner. Now out to the line, Doug Wilson. Across to Yanni, waiting, then centered it. Just missing Roenick in front of the net. And back come the Oilers. Mark Lamb in on Yanni, a long shot, and a blocker saved by Millen. He deflects it up into the seat.
Trent Yanni getting a little bit too cute now. Twice on the power play. On the shorthanded goal, Doug Wilson, instead of cranking it up, tried to feather a pass diagonally to Steve Thomas on the far side. It was intercepted. It resulted in a Tikkanen breakaway. This time Trent Yanni faked the shot, tried to slide it back to Roenick. It was picked off by the Oilers and they countered. Well, you got to shoot it towards the front of the net, especially when your power play is not working. And the Hawk power play has been not very good throughout the whole playoff. Put it to the net, crowd the net, go for deflection or the screen shot.
That shorthanded goal by Tikkanen, by the way, was his second of the playoffs. And the 4th for the Oilers. After scoring 22 in the regular season. Here's Wilson. Shooting it in there. Coming to the near board, Roenick. Ian Presley trying to jam it loose. Came to the line and Wilson. Back to the near side. Wayne Presley waiting. Now lets it go. He scores! Wayne Presley with Roenick in front of the net. If he didn't tip it, he certainly gave Ranford a problem. And the Hawks on the power play have tied the game at 1.
You've got to shoot the puck on the power play. Get it to the front of the net. Presley that time dug it out to Wilson. Wilson backhand pass to Presley at the top of the circle. Thomas is right on top of Ranford. Ranford's out of the crease. Roenick, I should say, bumped into Ranford, but Ranford's outside the crease, so it's okay. If it's inside the crease, then the goal might not have been allowed, as an interference call might have been called, but Roenick into Ranford, and it might have hit Roenick and deflected by him. But the Hawks tie it up on the power play, their second power play. They gave up a shorthander, and they tie it up on a power play goal.
If it stands to Jeremy Roenick, it would be his 11th of the playoffs, which leads Chicago. Here's the draw, taken by Huddy. Now Anderson, and Anderson looking for help as he crosses the line. Anderson now shoots himself. He didn't get it through to the net, however. Corralled by Steve Conroy to Lemieux on the left side. Jocelyn Lemieux into the Edmonton zone. Okaboom pumps him into the corner. Now, everybody happy. Wait, Okaboom has lost his stick. Trying to grab Lemieux. Came loose to Wilson. Wilson to the near side centered one. Lemieux couldn't get any wood on that. Manson scurries to hold it in. Then Huddy took it away and cleared it to the Chicago line. Doug Wilson to Dirk Graham. Graham tied up at center. Curry took it away to Messier. And then Savard got it back. In over the Oiler line. He couldn't get around Ruth Lane, and a bouncing puck to Graham. He couldn't find the handle, though. And now it's shot into the corner. However, Gord Brossiger says that the play was offside. And so we get a whistle with 13 and a half minutes to go in the opening period. It's 1-1. We pause for a regional break.
Jeremy Roenick gets credit for his 11th goal of the playoffs from Preston Wilson at 5:01. Jeremy Roenick has an unbelievable knack of coming up with big goals in big games. In Game 7, he started things off with 2 goals in the first period against St. Louis, which propelled the Blackhawks into this series.
Now Esa Tikkanen, rounded by Wilson, then lost it to Larmer. Fires! And a save by Ranford. Rebound to the near side. Savard looking to hold it in, but out comes Ruotsalainen. Ruotsalainen with a long drive. Millen reaching to his right, makes the glove save. Then miscommunicates with Manson. It's stolen by Lamb. Out to the line. Ruotsalainen a shot and a save by Millen as Tikkanen took a wave at that high shot with his stick. Millen just making sure he can get a whistle by staying near the Oiler player.
Well, Millen thought Manson was going to go in behind the net. Manson wanted to get the puck early to sweep and go the other way to get maybe a sneaky breakout, but they miscommunicated and it resulted in a scoring chance. Meanwhile, the other end, Tikkanen coughed it up as Doug Wilson pinched in deep and cut across and forced the turnover, and Ranford got a piece of it. Meanwhile, Lamb picked up the errant play from Millen and Manson, went to the corner, got it to Ruotsalainen at the point. Ruotsalainen let it go, and Millen made the save on the high shot and then went out towards Tikkanen and got the stick up towards him. Let Tikkanen know that he was not going to allow him to intimidate him with his stick.
Graves, Jelena, and Murphy, the kid line on there for the Oilers. Here's the draw to Muni, a long shot. Millen goes down to kick it away. There'll be a penalty here against Chicago. Right off the draw, Andy Van Hellemond says Greg Gilbert got too much of an Oiler. And so the Edmonton Oilers will get their first power play chance of the game. It's Chicago 1, Edmonton 1, as we pause for a regional break.
624-8236.
The Edmonton Oilers will get their first power play at 6:47. Greg Gilbert gets a holding call as he tried to get to the point, then pulled down the Oiler player, was interfering with him. The Oilers are 5 for 27 on the power play. Coming into the game, they had 8 more power plays and over 18 minutes with the man advantage in this series. That's almost a whole period of hockey in the first 5 games.
Oilers have scored 5 in the series on the power play and 27 chances as the Hawks clear it down. As you would expect, Messier, Anderson, and Simpson in front. Ruotsalainen and Smith at the points. Here's Simpson over the line to Messier. The return pass is broken up and cleared by Troy Murray.
Greg Simpson with 5 goals on the power play in the playoffs. Of his 11 he scored, and leading the team as he did in the regular season with an unbelievable shooting percentage of 35.5.
Dumped into the Hawk zone. Troy Murray will get a penalty. Simpson went down as he tried to chase it. Murray behind him put the clamps on him. A two-man advantage for the Oilers for a minute and a half.
Well, an awful tough call. It used to be to get a two-man disadvantage. You really had to do something nasty. But Troy Murray, though, draped around Simpson and made it look too obvious. And Simpson went down. And a two-man advantage for a minute 25. This could be the hockey game. Even though it's early, you can't put both arms around the guy like that and ride him. Even though Simpson maybe made it appear worse than it was, it's still a holding penalty without a doubt. But
one message better get through to the players on both teams here early, and that appears to be that Andy Van Hellemond is going to call it close to the vest. There's been a lot of talk in this series from both sides about extracurriculars and stick work and so forth, and Van Hellemond early seems to be saying, this is my game. Don't be messing around with anything unruly. Two-man advantage. Here's Ruotsalainen. Deep slot. Ruotsalainen flipped it to Tikkanen. He waits back to Ruotsalainen. Now put it across to Curry. A shot and a save by Millen. Rebound to the Oilers. Curry on the far board with a minute left with a two-man advantage. Ruotsalainen now to Tikkanen. He hit the side of the net. That's a Tikkanen. Hanging on. Put it to Ruotsalainen. They play catch. Now Tikkanen side of the net. Messier. Put it in front. Tikkanen waiting. Gave it to Ruotsalainen. Oilers reluctant to shoot here. Now a giveaway to Larmer. He clears.
Oilers getting too cute. They're trying to make that one extra pass instead of cranking it up.
Half a minute for the two-man advantage. Messier in on Wilson. Stops on the near side. Threw it across to Tikkanen. Tikkanen far board. To the line. Curry. He slipped it to Ruotsalainen on the near side. Ruotsalainen gave it to Tikkanen. He waits. Now put it to Ruotsalainen. A shot, and Millen got a piece of that. Here's Curry across for Tikkanen. Lets it go. Shot it wide. Ruotsalainen keeping it in. Now the first penalty is over. Here's Conroy. He clears. The first penalty is over. The Hawks are one man short for another half minute. Ruotsalainen tied up by Larmer. Now Messier came up with it. Mark Messier scooped it to center. Smith in over the line. Put it to Peter Klima. Klima, who sat out the last game, moves in behind the net. Gave it to Messier. Bounced it side of the goal to Anderson. Now Messier centered. Anderson running alone. Millen able to stop him and cover it up.
Best scoring chance of this whole power play. Messier into Anderson. Anderson tries to stick handle in close, but Millen went at him with the blocker as he went down and prevented the shot. Well, the first tough chance for Millen in this whole two-man disadvantage. They kill off the first one. Only 1 second remaining on the second Troy Murray penalty. Well, good job by Greg Millen there, and a dangerous sniper. He's had good success in his career against the Blackhawks, but Millen sliding his pads to his right, leaned back to his left with the blocker, and poked it away from Anderson.
It's important for the Hawks, obviously, to get off to a good start. Maybe more important for Greg Millen to get off to a good start. He has to know if he's a little shaky, he's gone. The way Mike Keenan has operated all through the regular season and playoffs, he's likely to even have a quicker hook tonight if need be. Here's Huddy, a shot. Millen kicks it into the crowd. The second penalty over. Both teams now back at full strength. And a huge penalty-killing effort from the Chicago Blackhawks. Backstopped by Millen, and the crowd now rising to its feet.
Well, two things can happen when you have a two-man disadvantage. The one team can score a couple of goals and really control the pace of the game. And then the team that can kill it off, if the team is successful in killing it off, they obviously get the momentum and get spurred on by it. And the Hawks hoping that would be the case. That happened to them in Game 7 of their first playoff series against Minnesota, where they were 2 men short for 2.5 minutes when they lost 2 players with 5-minute high-sticking major.
Savard and Tikkanen to the right of Millen. Here's the draw by Dave Manson. To the right wing boards Larmer. Larmer dumping it in. Tikkanen again shadowing Savard. Now the Oilers look to clear. Tikkanen couldn't get it by Savard. To Larmer. Lets it go. And a save by Ranford. Rebound cleared. Again not out. Savard held it in. Larmer right in. And a save by Ranford again. Rebound. Creighton in the traffic. Got help now from Savard. Savard's pass hit a leg. Tries again. Stolen by Huddy. And he gave it to Joe Murphy. Murphy in on Doug Wilson. Murphy to the corner, stopping. Trying to center one. Larmer had Kevin Lowe well covered as the late man. And now a steal. And Murphy picked one out of midair, but then couldn't let the shot go. Now Manson run over behind the net by Murphy, and he fell on top of the puck. So the whistle sounds. We're halfway through the opening period. It's Chicago 1, Edmonton 1.
Another AT&T Advantage. Call today about our special 800 offer.
Bill Ranford continues to shine in the Oiler net. Steve Larmer only has 3 goals in the 5 games of this series. Very easily could have a dozen goals, the number of chances he's had. Ranford with a great save with Creighton in front. Savard a good job of keeping it in at the line, gets it back into Larmer. This time Larmer takes a look, tries to go to the glove side, and the glove side has been a no-no. You can't seem to beat Ranford on that side.
Now McTavish, Klima, and Buchberger out for the Oilers. Roenick, Thomas, and Presley for the Blackhawks. Here's Steve Thomas out to center ice, in on Kevin Lowe. Thomas now trying to shoot one at the right through the slot, and Presley too well covered there by Muni. Now Lowe or Buchberger on the right wing board. Gave it to Craig McTavish. McTavish was stopped by Conroy. Buchberger into the corner, rolled it loose, but Roenick there. Gave it to Thomas, and he bounces it out to center ice. Buchberger unable to get it in deep. Presley, a back pass to Thomas over the line, shooting. And Ranford got a piece of that with a blocker. Now McTavish goes down. Presley will get a penalty. A veteran move, it looked like there by Craig McTavish. He went flying into the air and landing on the seat of his pants to draw the penalty. 9 minutes to go in the opening period, 1-1.
Coaches just hate penalties taken in the offensive zone when you've got possession of the puck and pressure. McTavish circling back. It's hooked from behind by Presley, and McTavish goes down. And Presley goes to the box. 3rd straight power play for the Oilers. They're 0 for 2.
Now here they come. Craig Simpson shooting it into the Chicago zone. Anderson to the corner. Bumped there by Yanni. Now cleared in behind the Chicago goal. Graham able to pick it up there. Takes a look and clears, just missing Larmer at center ice. Here's Steve Smith. Smith able to work his way to center. Now drives it in. Larmer and Simpson to the corner. Now behind the net to Yanni. Yanni coughs it up. Here's Messier right in. And a big save by Millen. Rebound to the near corner. Dug out of there by Simpson. Gave it to Messier. Back to Simpson. Now to the line. Ruotsalainen. Across to Smith. Back to the near board. Here's Messier. Trying to center one. Simpson a wild and a save by Millen with a quick reaction to the left pad. Now Simpson to the line and Ruotsalainen. Up the board to Messier. Threw it across Smith. Faking centered one. He couldn't get the tip he was looking for. Anderson behind the net. Dug it out of there to Messier. Messier centered it. Tip. They score! An open side for Craig Simpson. But what a pinpoint pass by Mark Messier. A bullet pass through traffic. And Simpson knew what to do with it. 2-1 Edmonton.
Great pass from Messier. Just through Trent Yanni and Millen. A quick shot deflected off the end boards, off the end of the side of the net. Messier, or I should say Anderson, gets it up front. Simpson's knocked down. But Anderson, as he's pulled down, was able to poke it to Messier. He takes it to the corner. Millen's up against the post. And Messier beats both Millen and Yanni with the pass, and Simpson makes the pay. No wonder Simpson's shooting percentage is so high. All he had to do was advance it. His 6th power play goal of the playoffs, his 12th overall.
Oh, it's a special team period. A power play goal for each team and a short-handed goal for Edmonton. A 2-1 Oiler lead. As the Hawks dump it in. Charlie Huddy back for him. Huddy to Curry on right wing. Gary Curry puts it over the line to Lamb. He ran into Manson though. Back comes Creighton. Adam Creighton over the line, and Thomas has been pushed in there. Offside on the play.
Adam Creighton gets himself in trouble because he won't headman the puck. Tries to carry it. It doesn't have the greatest speed, so the Oilers are able to converge on him and make defensive plays. You got to move the puck. Thomas was breaking through the middle. He didn't attempt to give it to him.
Greg Simpson, who scored that lead goal for the Oilers, his dad acted as his agent the last time he had a contract come up. His father made the deal with Glenn Sather in Edmonton.
Kind of a commission he paid.
There's Dave Manson. His pass deflecting to Huddy. His clearing effort didn't get out. Larmer holds it in, cuts in, shoots. Ranford the stand-up save, rebound into the slot. Creighton, his shot, and a save again by Ranford. Again, he stood up to stop it. Now the goal knocked off the moorings behind Ranford as the Oilers were coming the other way. That's now noticed, so we get a whistle.
Steve Larmer using his head there. A couple of the Blackhawks, all their 3 forwards caught in deep with some good scoring chances. Larmer has had 3 quality chances. Creighton again in front. Ranford's concentration is excellent. Then he makes a good save on Creighton. 3 Hawk forwards are in deep. The Oilers counter. Steve Larmer intentionally knocks the net off its moorings to get the whistle. Good play on his part. No one was really looking. The officials couldn't see it. And it got a whistle and broke up the potential odd man break for the Oilers. Well, Ranford really has had Steve Larmer's number, even though Larmer has scored 3 in the series.
Hudson now between Sutter and Gilbert for Chicago. The Kids for Edmonton. Up now into the Oilers zone. Taken by Lowe. Keeps it around the boards. Muni. A good bump there from Hudson. Now back to that Lowe once again. Tries the left wing boards, and here's Jelena. Able to sweep it to center. Graves has a man breaking, rolled it ahead too far for Murphy, and a good read by Millen to come out and break up that opportunity for the Oilers. Back come the Hawks. Sutter for Hudson. He couldn't pull the trigger as he lost the handle, and Lowe went down to give him a problem. Over to the far board, Manson holding it in, but Graves with a steal to Joe Murphy. And he calmly pushes it into the Chicago end. Wayne Sutter getting help from Greg Gilbert. Now Gilbert will get it in there, and the Hawks will head for a change. Roy Murray into the corner after it against Ruotsalainen. They bump there, and they'll hold it long enough for a whistle. 5.5 minutes left to go in period 1. It's Edmonton 2, Chicago 1. Earlier in this game, Mike Keenan had Jocelyn Lemieux matched up against Mark Messier. Right now, Messier out there as a winger with McTavish and Bookberger. The Hawks are on with Roenick, Thomas, and Presley. Here's the draw taken by Yanni. Long flip shot, sailing wide, and Messier turning deep in his own end. Walked right in front of the net and gave it to Bookberger, who chopped it to center. Now Steve Thomas works his way back to the Oiler line. Mishandled it there, though. And it's dumped behind the Edmonton goal. Ruotsalainen guarding the Oilers back as both teams are making some changes. Now it's dumped in by Ruotsalainen. Graham cleared it to the far side and taken by Smith at center. Steve Smith looking for McTavish. Touch pass to Bookberger. They shoot, they score! He sent it to Klima. The Hawks are furious at Gord Brosiker on what they thought was an offside play. Brosiker says no. This game is a 3-1 Oiler lead.
It could be offside. Who knows? But McTavish on the near side on his off wing had the skate on the line. It appeared that the right skate was touching the line. In a 2-on-1 situation, Buchberger across. Buchberger, who missed a couple of games with a separated shoulder, made the pass over to Peter Klima in his second shift, and Klima makes them pay. He can never relax, and I think the Hawksmen had thought it was offside, and they let up. And Klima makes them pay as Buchberger from McTavish, and the Oilers with a 3-1 lead.
Peter Klima sat out the last game, not very happy about it in the Edmonton media. He scores his first goal and point of the series. Here's Anderson onside, moving in, and he couldn't get rid of the shot. Now Adam Creighton starts Chicago back. Creighton got it over the Oiler line, then handed it right to Messier. Wilson re-steals. Got it to Larmer on the far side, keeping it in behind the net. Oilers clear it back to the center ice area. Taken by Bob Murray. He dumps it in there. And Bokaboom with Charlie Huddy into center ice, and Lamb will get it into the Blackhawk end. Now Thomas got knocked down with a nice hit from Muni. Back comes Lamb in over the line, shooting, and it's saved by Millen, and he'll hang on to it. Dale, I think you're exactly right on that last goal. The Hawks seemed to let up with the naked eye. When I first saw the play develop, I thought it was outside. And McTavish, it was turning at one point and was offside, but he got that trailing skate back on the line as he received the pass, and that might have been what might have been confusing to some of the Hawk players on the ice. But as you well know and have said before, you play till you hear the whistle.
Well, he was offside at one time and got himself back in position to accept the pass. With both feet up in the air, it seemed. He sort of swirled and jumped up and then put the foot down on the line, made himself onside, and got it into Buchberger. What a play by Buchberger, not known for his offensive skills, and he put it right on the money, and Klima buried it, and Millen had no chance on that one. The first period continues to plague and haunt the Blackhawks. They have really had difficulty in this period in all the playoffs. They've been outscored now by 12 goals in the first period of playoffs.
And as the Hawks come in there, the play is ruled offside. Now Sutter making a run at one of the Oilers along the boards. That was Simpson. Everybody just turns away and no more damage done. Officials making sure there'll be nothing more developing for the moment. The Edmonton Oilers trying to get to the big party. Once again, they've won 4 Stanley Cups. I believe they've lost in the finals twice. Is it once or twice? We'll have to look.
I think once.
I think it might be only once. But this is the 6th time in the last 8 years they have made it to the conference finals. For Chicago, it's the 5th time in the last 9 years they've made it this far, but they have not made it farther. Only Oilers have been to the finals 5 other times. They won 4, just 1 loss. The Islanders the only team to beat Edmonton in the finals. Now it's dumped into the Chicago zone. Gilbert, the near side, and Larmer. Took a hit from Murphy. Now it came free on the board. Graves the flip shot, gloved by Millen. He wants to play it and now does to Yanni. 3 minutes to go in the period as it shot up into the seats.
The penalties hurt the Blackhawks in game 5. 5 high sticking penalties and 2 slashing, 1 cross-checking penalty. 8-4 the power play edge for the Oilers in that game. A couple of bad penalties have cost them here tonight. Troy Murray holding and Presley for hooking in the offensive zone. That power play goal that made him 2-1 on Presley's penalty really put the momentum in the Oilers' favor. And then that play from McTavish to Buchberger, and then Klima finishing it off, coming on a player change, and the Hawks seem to let up. The Hawks seem a bit deflated now in the last moments of the first period. The Oilers again with a 3-1 lead.
And Edmonton here in the first period approaching their entire shot total of game 4, which is enough to win. They didn't get 20 shots in the 4th game and won it. They got 14 so far. Now it's in the Hawk zone and Sutter couldn't get it out. Graves a turnaround shot blocked by Conroy, who cleared it to center ice. Hudson facing against Muni. Got help from Gilbert, then he's knocked down. And a penalty is going to be called here against Edmonton. Well, the Blackhawks with a late power play in the first period, and they could use a little wind in their sails. A sellout crowd a bit stunned at the moment.
He's going to get the tripping penalty. He took the feet from under Gilbert. He was down on his knees and reached back and took the feet from under Greg Gilbert. Well, the Blackhawks need to capitalize on their third power play. They're 1 for 2. Penalty coming at 17-18. Greg Muni, the very reliable defenseman. He's a minus in this series. He's been a plus most of his career with the Oilers. In his last 4 years, he's been a plus 142.
Savard, Larmer, and Troy Murray with Wilson and Bob Murray on the Hawk power play. Messier and McTavish for the Oilers with Huddy and Smith. Now ready. And Brosker doesn't want to drop the puck. He tosses out both centermen. So Messier will move in against Troy Murray. Here's the drop. Murray won it to Wilson. Goes up the boards to Savard. Savard hanging on, waiting, now shooting, and a save by Ranford. Rebound Messier, and got help from McTavish to clear it to center. Now Wilson. A neat pickoff by McTavish. He stole one out of midair and cleared. Now Troy Murray hands it back into Edmonton territory. Taken by Ranford, looking to clear it himself, and it deflected, I believe, into the crowd.
A shot off the glass and went up off the glass, so it's Ranford gets away with one. The faceoff should be in the Oilers' zone. It didn't hit any Blackhawk player. And Hellman wasn't quite sure, and then Brosker came over to tell him. Ranford's trying to argue otherwise, that it was deflected by a Hawk player, but it appeared to go up off the glass on its own and into the crowd. Ranford in that same situation here in game 4 was run over by Jocelyn Lemieux. Puts it around the glass. The face-off stays in the Oilers' zone. Minute 24 to go on the third Hawk power play. Hawks have had 10 shots and they've had 5 or 6 quality chances. Steve Larmer's had at least 3.
They had a couple of glorious opportunities to get the first goal of the game. They were all over the Oilers with a couple of power plays. Yet it was Edmonton's Tikkanen that broke in short-handed and opened the scoring. Here comes Wilson. His pass stolen. And Bob Murray able to dump it in. Ranford played it to Huddy with time, and he cleared. A minute to go in the Chicago power play. Minute and a half for the opening period. 3-1 in favor of the Oilers. Here comes Doug Wilson. Hanging it in there. Thomas on the far side. Got it taken away, and Gary Curry clears. Jeremy Roenick, who earlier scored his 10th goal in the last 16 games. He gave it to Thomas over the line. Back to Roenick. It didn't get through to him. Picked off by Curry. He rolled it to center ice. Steve Thomas.
1 minute to play in the
back
game.
in there, Roenick. And the play is ruled offside.
Roenick with 11 goals. 17 points now in the playoffs. The record for most points by a rookie in playoff competition, Dino Ciccarelli with 21 points on 14 goals.
Now with a minute to go in the opening period, it's Lemieux, Roenick, and Graham. To the tail end of the Chicago power play. already. And the draw is taken by Yanni. David to Lemieux, who sends it in. Back to the net, Huddy got a rough ride from Graham, and he chipped it up over the glass and into the crowd. Boy, Dirk Graham. To say he's playing on a leg and a half would be overstating the case, I think. He is really, as you mentioned, he's had difficulty walking. He came back early from the broken kneecap to try to help his team in the pivotal 7th game of the second round series, and he's appeared a couple of times here in this Edmonton series. But as the old saying goes, he's got all summer to rest if the Hawks don't win this one. There's 3 seconds left on the Oilers penalty. Roenick and McTavish. Not anymore. McTavish tossed out. Roenick and Messier to the right of Ranford. And Messier wins the draw. To Smith. He whacks it out to center. Both teams now back at full strength. Now Roenick into the Oilers zone. Handed loose to Graham, but Messier took it off his stick. Now Lemieux on the boards. Out to the line. Conroy, his long shot. Hit right through the goal crease. That hit Roenick wide of the net and dribbled right behind Ranford and all the way through the goal crease. Now with 15 seconds left in the period, Smith got it taken away. A bouncing puck, though, is corralled by McTavish. And he rolls it into the Chicago zone. Pete Brown going back. And the first period will come to an end. 15 shots on goal for the Edmonton Oilers, 11 for the Chicago Blackhawks. And after the Hawks put all sorts of pressure on the Edmonton goal early, benefiting from a couple of power plays, it was a shorthanded goal by Esa Tikkanen that started the scoring. Tikkanen sprung by Craig Muni with a breakaway to score his 10th postseason goal at 2:01. Then Jeremy Roenick answered with a Hawk power play goal, his 11th of the playoffs, from Presley and Wilson at 5:01. Craig Simpson struck for the Oilers on the Edmonton power play. Messier and Anderson assisting at 12:26. A brilliant pass by Messier to set that up. And then Peter Klima with his first goal and point of the series from Buchberger and McTavish at 15:11. And the Oilers are in command after 20 minutes of play. It's Edmonton 3, Chicago 1. After 20 minutes of play, Pat Foley and Dale Talon back in the Chicago Stadium. We were supposed to be hearing from Doug Wilson at this moment. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, the interview was rejected, and so we'll take a look back over the first period as the Chicago Blackhawks had every opportunity early. Maybe when we look back on this game, if it does turn out finishing the way the score stands now with the Oilers winning, Bill Ranford might look back at the first 2 minutes and say that did as much as anything to win it.
Well, the Blackhawks won 7 games in each of their first 2 series because their power play did not work. And tonight they had the first 2 power plays. They give up a shorthanded goal, get some good chances on their second one, finally do score. And then they had one late in the period, and then they took some unnecessary penalties again. 2 bad penalties cost them. Power play goal for Edmonton gave them a 2-1 lead, and then a play that looked like it might be offside. The Blackhawks relaxed. McTavish picking up the pass from the far side. Kevin Lowe, I believe, made the pass. It banks off the boards. At one time, McTavish was offside, but in that situation, you could see his skate was on the line when the puck crossed. He got it to Buchberger to Klima, and Klima just one-timed it into the net. And the Oilers scored, made it 3-1, and it looked like that really deflated the Blackhawks. And once again, the first period, really the Blackhawks' nemesis. They've given up 27 goals in the first period and have only scored 15. It's unbelievable how they cannot be prepared and not get off to a better start in the first period.
The one thing seemed very obvious to me early. I wonder what your thoughts are. It looked like Andy Van Hellemond said, yeah, I've been reading about all this stuff in the papers, all the extracurriculars. I'm going to put a stop to it tonight.
Well, there was mention that Keenan thought the officials were intimidated by Mark Messier. I think Van Hellemond wanted to prove a point. He gave Messier 2 straight penalties right off the bat. Obviously, he let Keenan know he's not intimidated by Messier, but it was the Blackhawks themselves that took some unnecessary penalties as the period wore on.
After 20 minutes, the Edmonton Oilers are 40 minutes away from the finals, but the Blackhawks have other ideas. At this moment, Edmonton leads Chicago 3-1. Back after this.
Welcome to our NHL studios in New York. I'm Bob Papa. One period complete in Chicago. Edmonton leads the Blackhawks by a 3-1 score. Well, the path to the Stanley Cup Finals is filled with twists and turns. On April 4th, 16 teams began the journey, and we're now down to a precious 3. Boston reached their 17th Cup Finals by virtue of a tough 7-game series with Hartford. The Bruins dusted off Montreal in 5 games, and they handled the Capitals in 4. Campbell's has been a little bit tougher. Chicago got past Minnesota in 7 and St. Louis in 7. Edmonton needed 7 games, including coming back from a 3-1 deficit against Winnipeg, and they were able to beat Los Angeles in 4 straight. Who will go to the Stanley Cup? We will find out as the week goes on. Well, in baseball, when a manager pulls his pitchers out of the game frequently, he's known to have a quick hook. And Chicago head coach Mike Keenan has become hockey's captain hook. 6 times in the playoffs, he's removed his starting goalie, and he's doing it for motivational purposes, taking out the starting goalie. The latest wave in the Windy City, they call it relief goalies.
People are finding it interesting right now. We've used 3 goaltenders, but some of it has been based on health, and some of it's been based on good play.
Every time he does something like that, he tries to do it for a purpose, because try the team going, or because a lot of time he pulled the goalie doesn't mean the goalie is playing bad. If I was 20 years old, it'd probably bother me, but I know Mike for a long time, and I got used to it, and it doesn't bother me anymore.
On the bench, you know, it's a little different. You got to be ready all the time. Like, even if the goalie doesn't give up a bad goal, sometimes Mike will throw you in, and you got to be ready.
Well, the revolving door approach. It isn't a standard Keenan trademark, though.
I've also been a coach in the past who's played 1 goaltender for 90 games, and that was in Philadelphia with Ron Hextall. I think it ultimately depends on what your assets are and the health of those people that are involved.
Jacques Cloutier sees the similarity between his job and that of a relief pitcher in baseball, except there's one important exception.
Those guys making $1 million a year, you know, it's easier for them, but, you know, I'm not complaining. You know, whatever they ask me to do, I try to do my best about it.
Well, Greg Millen has given up 3 goals for the Blackhawks in period number 1. Let's see how long Keenan stays with him. That wraps it up from our New York studios. For period number 2 from Chicago Stadium will come your way after this timeout.
Back in Chicago Stadium, where the Edmonton Oilers are hoping to eliminate the Chicago Blackhawks from any further consideration, and they're in shape to do so. A 3-1 Edmonton lead after 20 minutes of play here in the stadium, and it was a great start by the Blackhawks that was thwarted by Bill Ranford. The next thing you knew, Chicago was trailing.
Tikkanen got a piece of Doug Wilson's attempted pass across to Thomas. Uni deflected it back up to Tikkanen. Tikkanen went in, shorthanded goal, a breakaway at 2:01. And then 3 minutes later, the Blackhawks get their second power play of the period. Some good work by Presley to get the puck loose. He gets it into Doug Wilson. Doug Wilson backhand soft pass to Presley. Presley goes to the top of the circle, shoots it. Roenick's in front of the net, deflects it up just inside the post. He knocks Ranford down. Who's outside the crease. Roenick's goal stands up, and it's 1-1 at 5:01. Presley and Wilson getting the assist. Then at 12:26, the Oilers on a power play. Messier gets the puck from Anderson. Good work by Anderson as he's knocked to the ice to get the puck to Messier. Messier looks and makes a quick pass through Yanni and Millen and right to Simpson, who buries it. That made it 2-1 at 12:26. And then Klima added a goal at 15:11, and the Oilers have a 3-1 lead.
The Edmonton Oilers do have a 3-1 lead as we get ready for second period action. Boy, everybody's looking good tonight. And and the Blackhawks, what would you say is going on down there? What do they need to do to get back in it?
Well, they just have to play and not run around, and make sure they don't take any unnecessary penalties and put pressure on them and forecheck in a smart way.
3-1 Edmonton. The second period follows this time out.
The 1990 Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel America are brought to you by Sprint. Sprint and its new world of telecommunications. By Coors Light, the one that won't slow you down. The Silver Bullet is the right beer now. By CCM, makers of 651 Tax. Stop by a dealer near you and see how they can turn on your power. And by Toyota. I love what you do for me.
with Dale Talon. Pat Foley back in Chicago Stadium, 3-1 in favor of the Oilers. I'm not sure there was much of a difference in the scoring chances. In fact, maybe Chicago even had 1 or 2 extra. But Bill Ranford continues to loom large in this series.
And Steve Larmer had 4 shots, and all of them quality chances. Adam Creighton had a good chance. But power play has really hurt the Blackhawks throughout the playoffs. They gave up a shorthanded goal and a power play goal in the first period. They get one of their own, but
now the draw cleared into the Oilers zone. Lowe put it into the far corner. Lemieux after it there. Everybody continues to jam away along the boards. Now Lowe came up with it. Give it to Messier, and he'll clear it. Back to the Hawk line. Anderson trying to race in there after it, and good work from Troy Murray to tie him up. Now Keith Brown throws it into the Oilers zone. Taken by Simpson. He cleared it to center. Dave Manson bangs it right back in there. Now Lowe able to feed Messier. Mark Messier got it in behind the Chicago net as the Oilers head for a change. Here comes Savard. His pass stolen by Lamb. He's in alone. Mark Lamb, the shot. Millen makes the save and hangs on. And Dennis Savard, the first one there to congratulate and thank Greg Millen.
well, Savard didn't see Lamb breaking through. First, the breakout pass from Dave Manson and behind the net to Savard at full speed. Savard tries to go across ice. They didn't see Lamb coming on a player change. He picked it off, surprising both defensemen. Millen went down, stacked the pads, and Lamb shot it right in the glove. A good save by Greg Millen, who was alert in the first period, though the Oilers scored 3 goals. The Tikkanen breakaway was shorthanded, and the other 2 one-timers that he had no chance on.
Please go to gate 5. The owner of a gray Mazda park in the west lot, license STX 872.
I don't know if Greg Millen has time to consider it, but he is probably 1 shot from the bench. If the Oilers are next to score, there's every chance that he might be out of there. Here comes Roenick. In on Curry. Jeremy Roenick trying to center one, couldn't make the play. Behind the net it goes. Roenick trying to paddle his way out of there, but it's cleared out to the line. Held in by Wilson, a long shot tip, and it didn't get to the net as it hit the skater Roenick. And the Oilers control. Tikkanen to Smith. In over the Hawk line. Steve Smith. Pass it to himself off the boards and shoots, and a save by Millen. Rebound Simpson. He chopped it to the side of the net. Wilson there. Couldn't get it by Curry. Now came loose in front, but Roenick able to clear it out of there. Here comes Thomas. Steve Thomas in on Huddy. His shot well wide of the target. Troy Murray keeping it in. Murray moves behind, trying to stop it in. He had it roll off the end of his stick at the last second. Back come the Oilers. Curry in on Conroy. Trying to chip it in front. Simpson got tied up by Brown. He centered one. Here's Adam Graves, and Conroy able to knock it off his stick. And it's taken at center by the Oilers' Bokaboom, who dumps it back in there. Conroy to Thomas, who clears it down the length. This will be an icing call against Chicago. It's early in period 2. It's 3-1 Edmonton.
Good chances at both ends. Esa Tikkanen hits a goal post on a face-off. Troy Murray tries to jam one in. It has the puck squirt just off the stick or skate of Jeremy Roenick in front of the Oiler net.
Now they play in the Chicago zone. Back to the goal. Jelena battles his way out in front. The one-hand shot is blocked. That hit Hudson. Now it came loose to the side of the net, and the goal dislodged. And we're going to have a penalty coming up here against the Blackhawks. Doug Wilson clobbering Jelena into the goal. Let's see if that's the penalty. It may well be, and it is.
Well, in the last shift, Mark Lamb leveled Wilson from behind in a cross-check right in front of Van Hellemond. They argued up the ice. The next shift, Doug Wilson runs Jelena into the net. Jelena was on his way. He was in front of Wilson, went skating into the goal crease area, and Wilson hooked him into the net. And he gets a high sticking penalty. The stick never got above waist high. So the fourth power play of the night for the Oilers. They're 1 for 3. So things not going the Blackhawks' way in the first part of this hockey game. The Oilers in control, and now with a great opportunity to add to their 3-1 lead with their fourth power play. 6 power play goals in this series in 30 chances. And Gord Brosiker again throws out Troy Murray, and that's been a familiar sight throughout the regular season and in the playoffs.
Larmer and Murray, the forecheckers, with Brown and Conroy. Here's the draw. Messier to Ruotsalainen. Near point to Steve Smith. Back to Ruotsalainen. Now Messier trying to center one. Anderson let it go through to the net. Millen sticks to the side. Now Messier gave it away, and out comes Larmer. Steve Larmer in on Ruotsalainen. He can't get around it. Ruotsalainen with a nice steal. Now he gave it to Glenn Anderson, whose pass is stolen by Larmer. Larmer will dump it in there as the Blackhawks head for a change. Now Smith whips it ahead. Presley broke it up. Carried on though by Ruotsalainen. He'll dump it in. Millen mishandled it behind the net. Simpson gathers it in for the Oilers. Threw it across to Ruotsalainen. He throws it back into the near corner. Messier's there. Mark Messier back to the line with it. Slipped it to Smith with a long shot up off the glass. Now the wraparound by Simpson and a save by Millen. Rebound came loose in behind. Big scramble for it there. Millen chopped at it to Bob Murray. He clears it. Here's the race on. Presley chasing, but Huddy got there first. And a broken stick. Wayne Presley broke his stick over Charlie Huddy. And Kevin Collins coming to Van Hellemond, maybe to tell about it. Smith complaining. In a forechecking roll, Wayne Presley lowered the boom on Charlie Huddy.
Presley just gave him a two-hander trying to prevent Huddy from getting to the loose puck. Huddy favoring his right hand and arm with no penalty called, so Presley gets away with one. There's been a lot of that in this series. A lot of broken stick slashes. As we said, only one 5-minute penalty in the entire series, and that was for boarding.
.45 seconds left on the Chicago penalty. Larmer and Graham back on there now with Conroy and Brown. Lamb, Curry, and Tikkanen. For the Oilers, Ruotsalainen and Smith remain the point men. Zone, the face-off taken by Edmonton. Smith leads Smith. Ruotsalainen. Now Tikkanen. And the Oilers finally begin to move it up the ice. Here comes Curry. Gary Curry steps to the line, winds up shooting. Millen had it, didn't know where it was, and Keith Brown clears it out of there. Millen made a nice stop, but then had no idea where the puck was, and Keith Brown the first there to bail him out. Here comes Curry for Tikkanen. Tikkanen puts Lamb over the line, back to Tikkanen cutting in. He couldn't pull the trigger, and Larmer knocked it away, but it was shot. That went up high off the stick of Smith. Gathered in by Brown. The Hawk penalty is over. Both teams back at full strength. Brown lost it as he came over the line. Back comes Curry. Gary Curry. Leading for Tikkanen, the pass at his feet, he couldn't locate it. Taken now by Roenick. Jeremy Roenick works his way to center ice. Sending it in deep. Charlie Huddy passed it to himself off the board. Got it to center. Tikkanen putting Curry over line. 2-on-1, cutting in, shoots. Yanni went down to block the shot. Came loose on a shot. They score! Charlie Huddy! And
Tikkanen was on top of Millen.
Millen claiming interference. Van Hellemond says no. It is 4-1 Edmonton.
Tikkanen went crashing into Millen on a 2-on-1 situation. The puck came back to the point. Millen was underneath Tikkanen, couldn't get back in the net. And the shot from the point. Good job first by Huddy to get away from two Hawk players. Roenick was the last player back with the defenseman. 2-on-1. Curry lets it rip. Tikkanen goes crashing into Millen. Now Millen's trying to get back in there as Tikkanen appeared to have him tied up. And the long shot from the point goes in, and it's a 4-1 Edmonton lead. Curry just misses his 90th career goal. Millen is down. Tikkanen's there, and that can't get back.
Puck got into the net in a hurry. That would have been an awfully tough call to make from the Oiler perspective. Obviously, the Hawks think it should have been, but that looked like a good no call to me. Here's a long shot. Shot wide by the Oilers. Aim loose to the near side. Wilson gave it to Huddy. Charlie Huddy slipped it out to center. Mike Hudson, rather, that was, and Sutter dumping it in. Gilbert's pass blocked by Ranford. Now Sutter missing Wilson. And the Hawks will have to chase back into their own end. Dave Manson aired it around the boards. Kevin Lowe keeping it in there. Got it behind the net. Wilson. Wilson up the near side. Lemieux got knocked down by Klima. And it's dumped into the Oilers' zone. Taken by Lowe. Lifting it out to center. Now Brown will have to scurry back into his own end. Through the near board. He's got it back the other way. Now the Hawks dump it in. By Craig Muni. On feed to Klima. Looking for McTavish, and Conroy stood him up at center ice. Now in comes Roenick. Roenick in on Muni. Centered it. Thomas couldn't pull the trigger. Low. A nice defensive play. Presley a long shot. Well wide of the net. Taken now by Ranford. He couldn't get it out. Presley to the line. Bob Murray. The shot tipped. Deflected wide by Lowe. Now taken by Roenick in behind it. Thomas. He centered it, missing Bob Murray. And it slides free back to the Hawk line. There's Steve Thomas. Rooting it in there. Craig Muni is on it. Around the board to Simpson at center ice. Greg Simpson knocked down by Manson, but still managed to flip it ahead. Here's Yanni. His feed picked off. Simpson. To Routzelland. Back pass to Messier over the line. Walks into the deep slot. Bill has it. Put it to the trailer just off the bench. Smith. He shoots. He shot it wide. Now taken by Chicago's Creighton. Long feed to Larmer. Hopped over his stick, and Steve Smith moves the Oilers back. Smith now turning. It's cleared to the Chicago line. Hansen couldn't get it by Anderson. Gave it to Messier. Took a bump from Gilbert, but still got it loose. And finally it's tipped back to center ice. Oilers dumped it in. Manson back. Near side for Larmer. Lamb gave him a problem. Then Curry took it away. He couldn't do anything with it though. And here comes Larmer. Flipped it in, but not deep enough. Oilers on the counterattack. Lamb 2-on-1 with Curry. But his back pass slipped on him, and Hudson able to steal it. Now the Oilers get it back. Curry near side. His pass stolen by Graham to Hudson. Mike Hudson into the Edmonton zone. Centered one. Too far for Wilson in front of the net. Now Lamb. Gave it to Simpson. Sent sprawling by Lemieux at center, and Craig Simpson is hurt. He was looking. Now he gets back up slowly. Here's Graham. In behind the net to Troy Murray. Murray centered it. Conroy a shot. Didn't get much on it. Conroy now to Murray, far corner. Taken away, though, by the Oilers. Jelena racing in. Lemieux trying to catch him. Jelena fall off the hit. In front of Curry. His shot is blocked. And the Blackhawks now control. Here's Lemieux. And both of them will put him right into the Hawk bench. For the Oilers bench, they both wind up in there. And the play is stopped. Gord Brosiker right on the scene, making sure nothing happens to the Hawk player Lemieux that got buried right into the Oiler bench on a crunching hit from Jeff Bokovo.
Well, Lemieux ran over Simpson. Bookeboom stood him up and caught him with his head down and lifted him right up into the Oiler bench. Bookeboom was used sparingly in the playoffs with a big hit on Lemieux after Lemieux dished out the check on Simpson.
It's Edmonton 4, Chicago 1.
CCM 651 Tax, the only skate with vacuform, heat molded to the exact shape of your foot. The only skate with heel lace, dual lacing that locks in perfect fit to transmit your power and control directly where you need it most, right into your game. 651 Tax by CCM. Turn on the power.
Jocelyn Lemieux will show no quit. He dishes out a good check on Simpson. Clean, solid check with Simpson having his head down. And Bookeboom returns the favor.
Now it's in the Oilers zone. Back to the net, Presley. Or Roenick, rather, trying to dig it out of there. He does. Got help from Thomas. And a stick handle in traffic. Unable to move past Huddy, though. Charlie Huddy able to win the battle, clearing it up the near side, but Brown held it in, shooting it. A save by Ranford. Rebound to Huddy. Charlie Huddy hoisting it back into the Blackhawk end. There's a lead, eluding Roenick. Huddy bouncing it back into Chicago ice. We're halfway through the second period, 4-1 in favor of the Oilers. Here's Brown. Looking for Presley, but he couldn't hold the pass. Counterattack to Klima. He's in on a bad change. Klima right in the hole, shooting. Shot it wide. Klima had Millen down and out, but missed the net. And now Bob Murray the other way. Trying to get it to Larmer, but Buchberger took it back for the Oilers. Got it behind his own goal. Savard knocked down there. Still centered one. Larmer couldn't pull the trigger. Dug out of there by Savard in behind. Savard trying to battle in front of Bob Murray. A shot and a save by Ranford in traffic. And he holds on. 9 minutes remaining in the second period. It's Edmonton 4, Chicago 1. We pause for a regional break. You're watching the Campbell Conference Finals on Sports Channel America.
There are over.
Blackhawks have shown no quit all season long. They were dominated in Game 5 in the first period, battled back, tied up, and then lose it 4-3. Savard held. Bob Murray comes in. Gilbert chips it at Ranford, but Ranford gets the big glove on it. Meanwhile, Larmer had a chance earlier, had a stick held by Smith for the longest time. Van Hilleman called everything in the first period, and not calling anything here in the second.
Off the draw, Lemieux to Mike Hudson in the near corner. Messier stepped into him, took it away. The Rutsalainen, but Lemieux gave him a problem. Now Lemieux jammed it loose to Mike Hudson. Hudson working on Smith, battles his way in front, shoots one. He shot a backhander wide. Lemieux digging it out. Got it into the corner. Now Lemieux has it again. His pass deflecting though to Anderson. Out come the Oilers in a hurry. 3-on-3. Here's Messier to the line, and Jelena in there well ahead of the player.
Collins was a little bit undecided whether to call the offside or not. And the fans voicing their discontent with the McTavish opportunity in the first period that they thought was offside, which proved to be onside. That goal in itself might be the backbreaker as far as the Hawks are concerned, though they're down 4-1 with a goal by Huddy.
Mark Messier coming off his greatest season ever, and he's had a lot of awfully good ones. And Mark Messier in 1979 was a third-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers. Everybody in the league passed on him twice at least. Now here's Muni back of his own net. Move it to Gary Curry. Curry slipped it ahead to Lowe. Kevin Lowe put it behind the Blackhawk goal. Now stolen by Lamb. Here's the stuff attempt, and Yanni beat him to the post. And now Gilbert takes it away. For Larmer at center. Steve Larmer over the line to Gilbert. Gilbert's shot is blocked. Now rolling free to the near side. Mark Lamb able to win control to Tikkanen. Tikkanen couldn't get it by Larmer. His long shot tip. Oh, and Savard's deflection sails up into the crowd. 8 minutes to play in period 2. It's 4-1 Edmonton. We pause for a regional break. You're watching the Campbell Conference Finals on Sports Channel America.
That was some storm we had last night.
Here come the Oilers off the draw. Murphy cutting in. Couldn't get it by by Jelena. Art Jelena put it in behind the Hawk goal. Murphy got a big hit there from Manson. Now Hawks look to clear, but Charlie Huddy keeps it. It bounces one towards the net. It's gloved by Millen. Who will hang on?
Adam Graves with Murphy. Two former Red Wings coming over with Klima. And Sharples in the Jimmy Carson deal. They've been outstanding in the playoffs, both Graves and Murphy. With Jelena, the youngster on the left side, who came over in the Gretzky deal from Los Angeles.
Adam Graves says this summer he'll continue his education. He's going to go to summer school at the University of Windsor. Continue along toward his business degree. Great future for that young man, just 22 years old.
And hopefully he'll be our second intermission guest.
One never knows. I bet the Oilers will have their man showing up. Here's the play in the Edmonton zone. Simpson bounced it to Ruotsalainen. He got a bump from Lemieux, and then the Oilers carry it in offside.
Well, it's certainly still in it. They need a goal, obviously, to get back in it, down by 3. And 27 minutes to go in regulation time. They need to finish strongly here and get some sort of offense going and get the secret to Bill Ranford. He made some key saves in the first period earlier, especially when the Hawks were on their first 2 power plays.
But in 13 minutes here in the second, how many tough ones has he had to face?
Only the one, the last chance for Gilbert on a shot that got through from Bob Murray from the goal mouth. I think the Oilers have really shown an ability to shut down the offense of the Blackhawks when they've had the lead. Their defense has been blocking shots. They've been not allowing the Hawks to get really quality chances.
Troy Murray between Hudson and Lemieux against Messier, Anderson, and Simpson. Yanni behind his own goal. Put it around the boards. Lemieux able to clear it to Mike Hudson. 2-on-2 in over the line. Hudson trying to go wide on Ruotsalainen. Can't get there as Ruotsalainen knocks him down to the corner. And Steve Smith clears it to center ice. Back into the Oilers zone. Taken by Smith. Now Steve Smith moving slowly. Give it to Ruotsalainen, still in his own end. He bounces it ahead. Oh, and just missed Messier. He was in. He'll chase into the Hawks zone. Get to it behind the net. Battles his way to the near side. Messier walks all the way back to center ice with it. Mark Messier is going to play a little keep away. And a shot into the Blackhawks zone. Taken by Keith Brown. To Savard to Larmer. But he's tied up in center ice. Brown or Larmer feeding to Gilbert in over the line. Here's the shot. He shot it wide. And Lamb able to get it to Tikkanen. Here's an Oiler rush 3-on-3. Lamb over the line, dropped it for Curry. Curry into the Summer Lake man. Beauty. He shot one just wide. In behind is Lamb. Mark Lamb got away from Thomas. Now trying to center one. It's picked off in front. Lamb gets it back to Curry on the far side. The Hawks having trouble in their own end here. Now finally it's cleared back to the Chicago line. or the Oiler line rather, as Kevin Lowe lifted ahead. Brown picks it off. Couldn't get it deep though. Curry the other way, trying to split the Chicago defense. Conroy turned him around, and out comes Roenick. Jeremy Roenick into the Oilers zone, surrounded by Edmonton players as the Hawks were changing. And the Oilers clear it out to center ice. Here's Graham back in his own end. With just under 5 minutes remaining in the second period. 4-1 Edmonton. A great steal. Sent it Murphy right in. He scores! Joe Murphy on a Hawk giveaway makes it 5-1 Edmonton.
Well, this line was dominant in Game 5, and they have another good night tonight. Graves and Murphy getting 2 goals here in the second period. Dirk Graham, an ill-advised pass up the middle. Won't see him make that mistake very often. He's on the off wing. The puck on edge, and it was intercepted by Graves. And Murphy went in one-on-one with Millen and made him pay. Well, the Oilers definitely in command. They have given the Blackhawks few chances here in the second. And they add 2 of their own to really put a damper in the possible festivities here at the stadium. Murphy and Graves, the former Red Wings, come through in the second here.
There might be close to 20,000 people in the building. You'd never know it right now. The Oilers have shot the silencer into the big crowd. 5-1 Edmonton. Now Manson sending it into the Oilers zone. Ranford cleared it himself, and the Hawks try to move back in. Stopped though, and Huddy got it to Jelena, whose pass is broken up. Now Jelena getting it back. Lost the handle in traffic. Larmer, who seems to be out there almost all night. Larmer got it to Gilbert, and he dumps it in. Savard hustling after, got tied up. Now Larmer, his shot, and a save by Ranford, and he covers it up. 4 minutes remaining in the second period. The Oilers in command. They lead Chicago 5-1.
Service only from U.S. Sprint.
Joe Murphy gets his 4th of the playoffs from Graves of 15-22. The Oilers slowly but surely turning Murphy into a solid 2-way hockey player. Highly touted out of Michigan State, was the first pick of the Red Wings. Didn't amount to anything in his first couple of seasons with Detroit, but the Red Wings, or the Oilers, saw something maybe that other teams didn't see.
Now Steve Smith dumping it in. Taken by Thomas. Steve Thomas tied up by Klima. He managed to hold the puck and gave it to Roenick. Now Bob Murray steps over the line and shot it in behind the Oiler net. Ruotsalainen up the middle to McTavish. He has a man breaking. Here's Klima, but they couldn't get the puck to him, and Bookberger's pass is stolen by Steve Conroy to Adam Creighton over the line. Creighton weaving to the far side. Muni took him off the puck. Now Hudson in behind to Sutter. Muni bumped him. Creighton looking to dig it out. He does. The wraparound rolls right through the goal crease. And now Anderson leading Messier. Back to Anderson over the line. He streaks for the net. Cuts in front. Here's a shot. He scored! Glenn Anderson turned on the afterburners, and the hesitation forced Millen to overplay it. He shot it back the other way. 6-1 Edmonton.
Well, that's the only one really that Millen has looked bad on. The Blackhawks, Anderson, Hudson and Sutter get caught in the crease. Creighton can't get back. Behind the back pass to the speedy Anderson. Anderson forced his way over to the near side, and Millen off balance and overplayed it. And Anderson slips it by him into the net, and it's 6-1 Edmonton with 3 goals here in the second. The giveaway by Graham, the speed of Anderson, and the Oilers in command, 6-1.
Now it's cleared into the Edmonton zone. Charlie Huddy starts right back, leading Simpson. Crossing the Chicago line. Craig Simpson centered at Anderson, put it in front. Messier, 7-1. The Oilers pouring it on the Blackhawks, and Edmonton will play Boston for the Stanley Cup.
Edmonton goal is 6th of the playoffs, scored by number 9.
Well, Anderson and Messier turning on the afterburners. Their passing has been brilliant here in the last 2 games, the Oilers. They counter extremely well as anybody in the game. The pickup, good job by Simpson to pick it up. Drop pass to Anderson. Anderson slips it by Doug Wilson, and Messier took his time and made no mistake. Well, this line is on all cylinders. It's pretty to watch. Simpson to Anderson to Messier, and it's all over. 7-1 Edmonton with 2 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the second period. Messier now with a 10-game scoring streak, has a goal and an assist in tonight's contest.
Oh, now it will take a miracle for Chicago to avoid a handshake at the end of this one. 2 minutes to go in the second period. And the Oilers, barring an amazing miracle turnaround, will be looking for their 5th Stanley Cup come next week. Late in the second, it's Edmonton 7, Chicago 1.
Mark Messier, I said he had a goal and assist. He has a goal and 2 assists. But the key situation in this series, game 4, Mark Messier, 2 goals and 2 assists, as the Hawks had a 2-1 lead, and the Hawks, who had lost only 3 or more games in a row, only twice all season, on the verge of losing 3 in a row in this series. Their 20th game in 38 nights. And it shows. It really has taken its toll. The first 2 series really took the effect physically on the Blackhawks.
Now a battle in the Edmonton zone. Scrum along the boards. Tikkanen able to sweep it out of there. Okaboom lost it to Larmer. He centered a shot and a save by Ranford on Conroy. The whistle sounds with 1.5 minutes to go in the second period. Edmonton 7, Chicago 1.
The way you think about Gallo.
Jacques Cloutier looking on. He may be in this one before it's over. Greg Millen, every time he's been pulled, he said, I don't like it. I'm certainly going to do anything it takes to help the team. If the coach thinks that that's what will help the team, I still won't like it, but I'll go along with it. I would rather stay in and fight it out to the end. Tonight, Mike Keenan staying with Millen, and he may well fight it out to the end. We'll see what happens after the intermission, which is just a minute from now. Hawks dump one in. Roenick kicked it loose to Sutter, but he lost it to Curry. And out come the Oilers. Several years ago, Edmonton was well ahead in a game against Los Angeles. I think in that one they were up by 5 goals and lost it. And many of the players still around on the team from those days say that that single game may have done as much as anything to teach them a lesson about what it's all about in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You have to play the full 60. But it would take what I would think would be the most amazing comeback in the history of the playoffs if the Hawks are going to win this. I wonder if there's ever been a time when a team was trailing by 6 goals after 40 minutes and won the game. I highly doubt it. The second period is in the books. Chicago in period 2 managing a total of only 6 shots on goal, while Edmonton had 10 and 4 went in. 25-17. The 2-period totals favoring the Oilers. 4 unanswered goals for Edmonton in the period. Adam Graves from Huddy and Curry at 5:17 made it a 4-1 Oiler lead. Then Murphy from Graves at 15:22 starting the outpouring of goals. Murphy at 15:22. Anderson from Messier at 17:31. And then Messier scoring just 17 seconds later from Anderson and Simpson at 17:48. After 40 minutes of play, the Oilers on their way to the finals, barring a miracle. It's Edmonton 7, Chicago 1.
And myself, Murph, and Martin, we're just trying to forecheck, and fortunately, we're getting a few breaks here and there.
Adam, we've got a goal and an assist, and talk us through it. That second period, were you surprised at the number of chances that the Blackhawks had and the number of chances you were allowed to have?
I think any time that a team's down, especially in their own building, they're going to open up a bit, and we were just fortunate to capitalize, tick one into the goalie there, and I hadn't realized the goalie was out, and I was just trying to tip it, and that's about the only time I score is when there's an open net, so I was pretty lucky.
And then the second opportunity, your line finally getting some numbers, some statistics to
well, the second one, it just I was lucky enough to be in the middle of a clearing pass and just gave it to Murph, and he didn't make any mistake in putting her home. And anytime you get a goal like that, you got to be happy.
Adam, you and Joe Murphy really getting almost a second life with the Edmonton Oilers. They've shown a lot of patience with you and giving you a lot of confidence, a lot of ice time. That's got to make you feel good.
Oh, definitely. When I played in Detroit, I really liked it there. I was treated great by Jacques Demers and Colin Campbell and Dave Lewis, and the whole organization was great to me. And coming to another organization that's first class is always great. And I consider myself fortunate to go from one great situation to another, and I just hope we can keep winning.
Well, a World Junior Championship, a Calder Cup in the American Hockey League, and now on to the Stanley Cup Final. It looks like it's got to be an eventful year and a half for you.
Oh, I just keep my fingers crossed, taking one game at a time, and just kind of work as hard as I can, because that's the ultimate goal.
Well, congratulations on a fine playoff series.
Thank you very much.
Adam Graves, our guest. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Saying playing goal was a winter of torture. Hall's infamous nervous stomach was a testimony to the fact, but his career proved torture for opposition shooters. Acrobatic and defiant, Glenn Hall began a storied career in 1955 with Detroit, and at the same time started an amazing consecutive game streak for goalies that he carried on to Chicago and traded there in 1957. Between November 1955 and November 1962, Glenn Hall appeared in a remarkable 502 straight games, accumulating 45 shutouts and a 2.51 goals against average. Mr. Goalie, Glenn Hall, the focus on tonight's Great Moments in Hockey, presented by the Discovery.
Like they're on their way to Boston. Edmonton hammering the Blackhawks 7-1. After 40 minutes of play, you've already seen the first two goals of the second period scored by the kid line. And then Edmonton really poured it on in the late part of the period as their veteran stars came through to turn that period into a runaway. As the Anderson, Messier, Simpson line, they've all each scored a goal now in this game.
Well, Anderson with a great burst of speed. The Hawks taking some chances, putting people in deep. They get caught. The Oilers, I think, the best team in the league at countering from defense to offense. Anderson slips it by Millen. Millen didn't look good on that one. That's the first one he really looked off on. But Greg Simpson with some good work to finish things off into Anderson. Anderson over to Messier with Doug Wilson sliding in front. Messier with all kinds of time and room, and he buried it. And that line really marvelous when they're on all cylinders, moving the puck as well as any line possibly in the league. The Oilers are probably the best passing team and skating team right now in the league.
They probably are. And the Blackhawks, meanwhile, I'm sure now they're wishing they could have ended at least one of those first two series earlier than they did. You said all the fatigue is showing. The bodies that are out there, even most of them are banged up, and they're just a step behind.
It's a combination of the fact that they played 14 games in the first two series. This is their 20th game in 38 days. Another combination, the other option, if they've been chasing the puck. And whenever you start chasing, you're tired and you're a step behind. You start running around, and the Oilers will make you look silly, and they're doing that tonight. The Oilers are just, everything's going their way offensively because the Blackhawks are just overachieving, trying to do too much, and they just can't react quick enough.
Blackhawks will be trying to gain a measure of respect in the third period. There's not much else they can try to do. It's Edmonton 7, Chicago 1.
Taste, so tap into the cold. By Prudential. Come to the companies of the Prudential and build your future on the rock. By AT&T, the right choice. And by Mercury and the full line of 1990 Mercury automobiles. See them now at your Lincoln Mercury dealer.
At Foley and Dale Talon in Chicago Stadium, 7-1. The Edmonton Carnage up to this point, and now Jacques Cloutier is tossed into the fray to open up for Chicago in the third period.
Cloutier started game 5, played extremely well in that particular game when the Oilers outplayed the Blackhawks badly in the first period, had 16 shots. And Greg Millen, some high points and low points in the playoffs. 5 times yanked by Millen. This is by Keenan. This is the 6th time he's been relieved. The 7th time overall in the playoffs where Mike Keenan has made a goaltender change.
7th time in the playoffs. There were 12 in the regular season. So that's 19 times out of, now what is this? This is the 20th, so the 100 games. And 1 out of every 5 times that the Hawks took the ice, their starting goaltender did not complete the game. Here's an icing call going to be made against Chicago here to start the 3rd period.
Well, Jacques Cloutier had an outstanding regular season coming over from Buffalo in the trade. Had 18 wins, a career high. Last year, the year before, I should say, he had 15 wins. And injured his knee in a game in March, an afternoon game against Detroit, where he had a good game and really was a forgotten man when Belfort came in and backed up Millen, then replaced Millen, had a good series against the Blues. Started game 1 against the Oilers. Millen sat out 5 straight games before starting games 2 and 3 of the series, where he played extremely well.
You know, in this whole goaltending thing with the Blackhawks, Mike Keenan, I think he honestly believes that this is the wave of the future, that in his opinion, in a lot of other sports, baseball, football, you look at the key men, the quarterback in football, the pitcher in baseball. Obviously, baseball very much changed. The starter rarely finishes. In football, here's Hudson, a chance, and a save by Ranford. In football, if the starting quarterback isn't getting it done, he's often relieved more often than in years past. And in the mind of Mike Keenan, he really believes that in the mid-90s, they'll be looking back at the Chicago Blackhawks in '89-90 and saying, maybe that's what started the trend. He really thinks that's the wave of the future. The wave of the future now belongs to the Edmonton Oilers. They're a rolling tide at 7-1. Having an excellent regular season challenge down the stretch for the championship of the Norris Division. They were able to fend off the challenge of the St. Louis Blues and win. Here's a giveaway to Creighton. He scored! Adam Creighton at the minute-and-a-half mark of the 3rd period makes it 7-2.
Well, as Yogi said, it's never over till it's over. You never know what can happen in this game. A lot of funny things can happen, but Boom fans on his clearing attempt right to Creighton, and Creighton makes him pay. Creighton, who struggled in the latter part of the regular season and in the playoffs, pops one in. His first goal of this series.
That's his 3rd goal of the playoffs. That, for Adam Creighton, is the 4th goal that he's scored in the last 40 games played. Oh, it's 7-2 Edmonton as Gilbert dumps it in. Taken by Lowe. Give it to Murphy. Clearing to center ice from Conroy. Dumps it back in there. Lowe couldn't get it out. Here's Keith Brown with a long shot. Ranford kicks it away. DeGraves, wrong feed. Here comes Teagan over the line on Brown shooting, and he shot it just wide. Now taken by Conroy. Got it out to center. Now the Oilers route Salainen. Lead Smith. To the neutral zone, and Buchberger got it over the line, but the Oilers offside on the play.
Blackhawk goal, his 3rd of the playoffs, scored by number 22.
Well, Adam Creighton had the best year he's ever had. Shown a lot of confidence by Mike Keenan. And he had a terrific regular season with 34 goals and 70 points, better than he's ever done. But he really, as Dale said, struggled offensively toward the end of the regular season, and in the playoffs, he now has 3 goals and 9 points in 20 games. And one of the things that Adam Creighton did last summer is on a strength and conditioning program put together for him by Keenan's staff. It really worked wonders for him, and you wonder if he works that hard this summer, if he'll be able to maintain this level of play throughout the entire season. Because if he can, he might have some huge numbers next year. Here come the Oilers 3-on-2. Here's McTavish in over the line. McTavish trying to center it. Now Wilson picks it up. Cleared it around the boards. held in by Smith with a shot. He scores! Steve Smith, a long shot through traffic. I'm not sure Cloutier ever saw that. And it's 8-2 in favor of the Oilers.
Well, whatever hopes the Hawks might have had as far as a miracle comeback, that might finish it all off. With Steve Smith, the clearing attempt around the boards. Klima let it go to Smith. And Smith cranked it up. And Buchberger was cutting in front. I don't know if he deflected it or not. But Cloutier screened, didn't pick it up till it was by him. Buchberger doing the job. If he doesn't touch it, at least he interfered enough so that Cloutier couldn't pick up the shot from Steve Smith, who started the series with 2 goals in game 1.
You know, we talk about what it takes to succeed in the playoffs and what a grinding situation it is playing every other day unless you should happen to win a series early. When that puck went in the net, here's Anderson with a shot deflecting upstairs. We'll finish the thought in a moment. It's early in the third. It's 8-2 Edmonton.
Races across America.
8-2 in favor of the Oilers. And they dropped the face-off unfairly. I was starting to say when that puck went in the net. Steve Smith credited with the goal. Kelly Buchberger was in front of Cloutier, and he was so excited about the goal he forgot that his left shoulder hurt. He started to raise both arms as all players do when a goal is scored. And you could see him grimace and take the left arm down in a hurry. But what does it take to compete in this grinding postseason action? It takes the ability to play hurt. Kelly Buchberger is doing that. The Oilers have several other players who are as well. Heath Brown out there at well under full strength. Dirk Graham's playing on one leg. And there are all sorts of unsung heroes, stories that not many people know about, of players who are able to play through and over pain in these important playoff times. And certainly a lot of guys are on the ice on both teams tonight that if it were a regular season game that was far less important, they would have no business being out there.
And there's one right there, Keith Brown. Maybe shouldn't even be in the lineup. He's playing in extreme duress. He's got a painful rib injury. This is part of the regular season with it. He and Dirk Graham both.
And here in an 8-2 game, there's Dirk Graham on the ice, the Hawk captain, playing on the right side here with Troy Murray and Lemieux. There's going to be a penalty coming up right off the drop.
I think the shot from Dave Manson, a bullet, caught Muni.
Muni. I thought Muni went down because of a stick, but there will be no penalty. That's my mistake.
Troy Murray won the draw. Manson, who really has a booming shot, cranked it up. Muni was tied up by. Letting hit him right in the head. Just either hit him below the helmet or on the helmet. Let's hope it just hit him on the helmet, because that could really be a serious injury. He almost knocked his helmet right off, and Craig Muni dazed by that wicked shot from Dave Manson.
Oh, Craig Muni gets some attention. We'll update you when we come back. 4 minutes gone in the third. Edmonton 8, Chicago 2.
Craig Muni apparently got the shot just in the mouth or jaw area. Troy Murray won the draw. Manson on the off point moved into his forehand, got all of it. Muni didn't see it. He was being tied up by Troy Murray and hit him right in the jaw. Down Muni went, and he goes to the bench. And he could, in a lot of pain. He won't be eating peanut brittle tonight.
Now the draw. Back to the Edmonton goal goes Lemieux. He centered one. Graves in front to steal it. And now Smith carrying it into the Blackhawks zone. Dave Manson carries it out to center, puts Lemieux over the line, and Smith ran him over along the boards with a crunching hit. Lemieux back on his feet trying to feed Graham, and they say the play was offside.
Well, Lemieux was flattened by Steve Smith. A solid defenseman he's become for the Oilers. Had him lined up. Lemieux stopped. He paid the price. Knocked down, but Lemieux didn't quit. He got back up. Picked up the puck, and they ruled that he was offside after he got possession of the puck. We look back on this hockey game. The third goal of the game by the Oilers at 15-11 might have been the one that really devastated the Blackhawks. It appeared that it might be offside. The Hawks thought it was offside. It was onside and ended up in the net, and they've never been the same since that third goal from the Oilers.
Well, I look at that and the very start of the game. The Blackhawks got 2 early power plays. Messier got a penalty at the 8-second mark. The Hawks stormed the Edmonton goal. Ranford was outstanding. And Edmonton scored shorthanded after Ranford made about 3 or 4 quality saves. A pass picked off by Craig Muni. He sprung Esa Tikkanen, who walked in alone on starter Greg Millen. Beat him for the shorty. And all of a sudden, after the Hawks were all over the Oilers, they were down 1-0. And Messier took another penalty right after that, and Chicago was able to score. But really, the early part of the game, the Hawks came out very strongly. But Bill Ranford standing tall for the Oilers, and they have subsequently taken over. Here's a Hawk power play going to be coming up as Thomas got yanked down at center ice with 14 minutes left. It's Edmonton 8, Chicago 2. We pause for a regional break.
Blackhawks' 4th power play of the night. They're 1 for 3, 4 for 22 in the series, and 17 for 106 overall in the playoffs.
Jeremy Roenick back to the line with it, slipped it to Presley. It's broken up though by Smith and cleared out to center ice. Bob Murray leading Wayne Presley. He rolls it in there. Smith back, hammers it around the boards, down all the way. Now Roenick winding it up, had to give it up, beating Troy Murray. Murray rounds it around the boards, held in by Manson, far point. Back of the net to Troy Murray. Murray got it to Savard, out to the line Manson, across for Wilson. He centered it, Savard, the shot, and a save, and it hit the post after Ranford got a piece. Here's Wilson keeping it in center, tip, right through the goal crease. Savard redirected that one. And Tikkanen able to clear it to center ice. 2 very near misses for Chicago there. Now they dump it in. Savard and low to the corner. And Larmer joining the pack, digs it out. Back of the net to Murray, centered, Wilson up over his stick, and back to the Hawk line. Half a minute for the Oiler penalty. There's Steve Smith. Clears it out to center ice. Taken by Conroy. Gave it to Dwayne Sutter, who couldn't hold the pass. Now Creighton deep in his own end. Adam Creighton gave it away to Lamb. And that'll do it for the Oiler penalty. Both teams now are back at full strength. Sutter shoots it in. Bokaboom bumped in behind the goal. Smith came to take it away and gave it to Joe Murphy. Murphy in on Conroy, who's able to tie him up. Lemieux the other way, has a little room, cuts for the net, shooting, Ranford, rebound, they score! Steve Thomas picks up the rebound after Lemieux broke in alone on Ranford, and it's 8-3 Oilers.
Well, Lemieux gets some reward for his excellent effort in this game. Sneaks in behind everyone else as Dirk Graham banks it off the boards. Ranford makes the glove save, but can't corral the loose puck, and Thomas off the crossbar and over the line, and it's an 8-3 Edmonton lead. Creighton and Thomas have scored for the Blackhawks here in the third. Steve Smith has scored as well for Edmonton. And Thomas gets his 2nd goal of this series and 7th overall in the playoffs.
Here's a Graham steal, centered one. That's picked off by Lowe. Gave it to Murphy. Crisscrossing over the Hawk line, and Thomas got back to steal it. Steve Thomas into the Oilers zone. To his backhand on Lowe, then his pass is stolen, and Graves flies it back the other way. Bob Murray. Dave Manson, now Presley. Sends it in there. And the penalty's going to be called. Mike Hudson was forechecking, got yanked down by Steve Smith. And the Hawks will head to the power play. 11 minutes to go. It's 8-3 Edmonton.
Their fifth power play. They're 1 for 4. And looking to cut the deficit to 4 goals with the 11:08 to go here in the third. Hudson pulled to the ice by Steve Smith.
Presley in the corner. Veronic along the boards. Back to the line. Yanni's long shot. He scores! Trent Yanni a long shot through traffic. And on the Hawk power play, now it's 8-4 Edmonton.
And 9:04 remaining. And John Muckler signals a timeout. Veronic over to Yanni. Yanni with a shot from the point along the ice and low to the glove side.
So the Oilers take their timeout here. And 18,472 don't want to go home yet.
The Hawks have scored 2 goals in 10 seconds in the playoffs. They scored 3 goals in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Those both records. And they come from behind, down 7-1 after 2. Well, they've been unable to come from behind in the playoffs in 9 games. And they only did it 3 times in the regular season.
Presley and Thomas. Ronick and Presley assisting Yanni's power play goal at 9:04. Here's Presley's side of the net, trying to muscle in front. He got stood up there, and a nice play by Muni, who's back on the ice. In behind the goal it goes. Thomas tipped it free to the near side. Yanni. He took a bump. Now a couple of others join in, but Curry gets the puck. Gary Curry. Racing in, has Tikkanen breaking, gave it to him, offside, no call. Tikkanen cutting in, shooting, and a save by Cloutier. Taken out of there by Ronick. Aired it to Thomas, who shot it to center ice. Now Yanni dumps it in there. Low. We're halfway through the third period, 8-4 in favor of the Oilers. Coming to life. They've been waiting for some reason to get it rolling here in the stadium. But the Oilers have been ahead since halfway through the first period. Now in the Edmonton zone, Smith bumped along the far side, comes out with it. Gave it to Anderson. Rolled it to center ice, and the Oilers dump it in from there. Cloutier gave it away to Messier. Messier centered it. Anderson couldn't pull the trigger in traffic. Over to the far corner, Brown. Got help from Creighton. And Conroy. On feed deflected by Tikkanen up over the boards into the Oiler bench.
The pass, I think, clipped Dennis Savard. Savard in his last shift on a Hawk power play had 2 great scoring chances. Hit one off the post and then had Renford beaten and just slipped it wide of the far side. Hawks with 9 shots on goal. The Oilers with 2. One of them went in. And Hawks with 3 goals in the third period. Creighton, Thomas, and Yanni have scored. Trent Yanni, who's had a brilliant playoff series on the blue line for the Blackhawks. Ron Muckler called his timeout at the 9:04 mark when Chicago made it 8-4. And he hadn't played Messi, Anderson, and Simpson much in in this third period, but after that last goal, he put Messier in that line out there.
Now the Oilers, Jelena knocked down at center. Taken by Bob Murray. Gave it to Wilson. Up the board to Hudson. Mike Hudson bumped along the near side by Bokaboom. Now gathering in the corner. And the whistle sound. And the clock, as far as the Oilers are concerned, just creeping along. As far as the Hawks are concerned, it's moving way too fast. Down to 8.5 left. 8-4 in favor of the Oilers. Looking for a date with the Boston Bruins next week. Now a wholesale change by Keenan.
The Oilers coming to Chicago had the pack for. Slipped it wide of the far side. Hawks with 9 shots on goal. The Oilers with 2. One of them went in. And Hawks with 3 goals in the third period. Creighton, Thomas, and Yanni have scored. Trent Yanni, who's had a brilliant playoff series on the blue line for the Blackhawks. Ron Mucker called his timeout at the 9:04 mark when Chicago made it 8-4. And he hadn't played Messier, Anderson, and Simpson much in this third period, but after that last goal, he put Messier in that line out there.
Now the Oilers, Jelena knocked down at center. Taken by Bob Murray. Gave it to Wilson. Up the board to Hudson. Mike Hudson bumped along the near side by Bokaboom. Gathering in the corner. And the whistle sound. And the clock, as far as the Oilers are concerned, just creeping along. As far as the Hawks are concerned, it's moving way too fast. Down to 8.5 left. 8-4 in favor of the Oilers. Looking for a date with the Boston Bruins next week. Wholesale change by Keenan.
The Oilers coming to Chicago had the pack for at least an 8-day road trip. They won here. They were going to go and start Tuesday in Boston and stay on the road. They lost. Obviously, they'd have to go back for Game 7, and then the Stanley Cup Finals would have started their original day on Friday, the 18th.
Savard, Larmer, and Lemieux. There for the Hawks. McTavish, Murphy, and Graves for the Oilers. Here's Bokaboom back of the net, pounds it around the board, and it's deflected back to center ice. Here's Savard, stepping back over the Edmonton line, left it for Manson, put it across to Yanni, cleared it around the board, taken away by Huddy to Curry. He flipped it out to center ice. Yanni back in there, in traffic, now cuts for the net, couldn't pull the trigger, he's knocked down, and taken away by Tikkanen, but he couldn't get it out. Manson, his shot is blocked and winds up back in the Hawk zone. Steve Thomas, to Manson, bumped along the boards, now Presley. Presley was stopped at the line. Curry took it away to Lamb, and he'll clear it in behind the goal. Steve Thomas puts Manson to center. He ran into Roenick there. Roenick chasing back for it. Now Motors to center. Cleared it over the line, and Presley ruled offside on the play. Down to 7 minutes left. It's Edmonton 8, Chicago 4.
Positive situation for the Oilers. They've never lost one. This is their 6th final. They've won the 5 previous ones.
very close to winning this one.
Now back to the Edmonton goal. Kevin Lowe gave it to Messier. Flipped it not out. Conroy held it in. Taken by Lowe. He'll make the safe play, clearing it down into Chicago territory. It'll be an icing call against the Oilers.
Kevin Lowe does not make very many errors. Even though it's a 4-goal lead, he's not going to take any chances.
Started to talk about the Chicago season. A season in which they were in first overall for a better part of the first half of the season. Fell on a few hard times, had a bad road trip at the end of November that sent them down the overall ladder. Now here's a lead taken by Tikkanen, stepping over the line, shooting, and a save by Cloutier. And he's going to hang on. No, now play it to Hudson. And he gave it away. Tikkanen looking for Messier, who turns back to center ice. Flips it ahead. The Hawks held off a strong St. Louis challenge to win the Norris Division regular season. Then two series that resembled dogfights. A 7-game encounter with the Minnesota North Stars, grinding and physical. Another 7-game encounter with the St. Louis Blues. That went the limit. And the Blackhawks have not had a spare moment since the playoffs began April the, what was it, the 4th? April the 4th. It's now May 10th and
12th.
Or 12th, and it's, well, whatever it is. It's been a long run. And
it really has 20 games. They had home ice advantage in the first two series, and that proved to be beneficial to them. They fell 2 points behind Edmonton in the regular season, a team that has now found its own identity. Last year, John Muckler saying it was just a collection of individuals, not quite sure what they were all about. But they made a couple of key changes, got their own identity, and played extremely well throughout the regular season. These two teams very closely matched. Only 2 points difference in total points. Game 4, the pivotal game as far as the Oilers were concerned. They changed their style after a Game 3 loss and won a very important game here at the stadium, and that really seemed to be the killer as far as the Blackhawks were concerned.
Ranford very sharp in that game, as he's been all playoff long. But the key performer in that game, the Edmonton captain, Mark Messier, just through his sheer force of will would not allow the Oilers to be denied. He dominated the game whenever he was out there. He figured in all 4 of their goals in a 4-2 win, scoring 2 himself, assisting on the other 2. A physical force, and he is just an amazing package of hockey player. Bill Ranford had never won a playoff game before this season. He had a career mark in the postseason of 0-4. And he's going to pick up his 12th playoff win here tonight. The general manager and former coach of the Edmonton Oilers, Glenn Sather, was behind the bench for their first 4 Stanley Cup victories. He'll watch from the press box this time as John Muckler, who was his co-coach, tries to lead Edmonton to the promised land through Boston. How about the run of the Oilers? In the last 8 years now, they will have gone all the way to the finals 6 times. So far, they've only been defeated once in the final round, winning the other 4. They're going after their 5th Stanley Cup. But the Boston Bruins, they'll have a lot to say about that. They'll be a bit more rested. And the Bruins, how'd they do in their last series? 4 games, 6 goals against.
Andy Moog will have an opportunity to come up big against his former teammates. He wanted a chance to prove himself as the #1 goaltender, and he really has performed brilliantly in the nets. Bruins only losing 1 of their last 8 games. They beat Montreal 4-1 and swept the Washington Capitals. A bit of a struggle with Hartford in the early going. Hartford in game 2, I believe, had them down, by 4 goals going into the 3rd period, and they lost that game. Hartford never rebounded.
Here's Curry with a shot, and Cloutier kicks it aside. And Roenick cleared it. Here's Bokaboon. Dumps it in. Hansen on it. Here's it around the board. We're down to 5 minutes remaining in this one. 8-4 in favor of the Oilers. A 2-line pass to Presley brings on a whistle. We're in the final 5 minutes. It's Edmonton 8, Chicago 4. He's able to flip it to Creighton. Evan Creighton gains the line on low. Goes to his backhand, centering to Hudson. He chops it up high. Now Conroy. Put it in behind the Oiler goal. Lowe wants a whistle. Hudson trying to jam it out of there. And the whistle sounds, and we're down to 4 minutes left. Greg Muni, what a find he's been. A free agent originally with Toronto, and he never got a chance to play with the Maple Leafs. In 4 years there, he participated in only 16 NHL games. They let him go. And he's found quite a nice home in Edmonton.
He's led this team in plus-minus most of the time, and as steady as they come defensively, blocking shots. This year was a bad year for him. He was only a +20 or +22 in comparison to the other years where he's been in around the +40 range.
Let me just correct, but he was acquired as a free agent by the Oilers after Toronto let him go. He was originally drafted by Toronto, 25th player pick in the 1980 draft, and yet for some odd reason, even though he's picked rather high in the draft, he never got much of a look with the Leafs. Now here's Peter Klima stealing one on his own end. It back into the Chicago zone. Taken by Wilson. Got it to center. Bob Murray with a long shot. Sticked aside by Ransom. And 3.5 minutes are left in the Campbell Conference Finals. Lookberger up by Wilson in the corner. And then Lemieux. Here's it back into the Edmonton zone. Murray chasing, but Bokaboom, a nice play to sweep it off his stick. And it'll be held behind the Oiler net with 3 minutes left in the game and the series and the season for the Blackhawks.
When you look back at some of these games, you look at the 3rd and 4th lines of the Oilers. Game 1, the key line for them was McTavish, Buckberger, and Klima. The Blackhawks again get close, but they just can't seem to get to that final series in this last decade.
Well, as we said, it's the 5th time in the last 9 years that Chicago has gotten this far, but that's all the farther they've been able to get. First it was the Oilers a couple of times that stood in their way. And Calgary knocked them off last year, and Edmonton will do it again here. Charlie Huddy flipping it in. Keith Brown finishing off the best year I think he's ever had as a pro. Outstanding season. Unfortunately, he's really played the last several games under a handicap, some awful ribs. It would have held a lot of other people out of the lineup entirely. Here's Curry. Gary Curry. Spun around by Manson. Heiskanen had his pass picked off, and Adam Creighton works it over the Oiler line. Got knocked down by Craig Muni, and 2 minutes are left in this series. There's going to be a penalty coming up against Creighton, I think, who retaliated. And now he wants to have something to say to Muni. The horse is out of the barn now, Adam.
Well, it's a very type of penalty that got them in trouble in Game 5, and took some unnecessary penalties early in this first period. A minute 56 to go. It was an unnecessary situation. Muni with a clean hit on him, and Muni signaling to Creighton that he's going to be gone to the golf course tomorrow. Now Gilbert having some words with Muni.
So the Oilers will have a chance to tack on another one on the power play. And John Muckler with a little word for Mark Messier.
Gilbert, a 10-minute misconduct penalty at 18:04. Blackhawk penalty Gilbert. A 10-minute misconduct.
Gilbert gets a misconduct penalty. And the Oilers go for 9 on the power play. McTavish cleared it to center. And John Muckler with a power play. He's got McTavish out there who's given him an excellent year. An unsung hero type of guy. Buchberger's out there. He's been playing hurt the last couple of games. And he'll try to get Peter Klima going. Klima didn't see much action here in this series, but against Boston, who knows if he might get more of an opportunity, but Muckler trying to give him a chance here to get some confidence offensively. And the Oilers with Bokaboom aiding Smith.
1 minute to play in the third period.
And we're into the final minute of the season for the Chicago Blackhawks. The last minute of the series for the Edmonton Oilers. Jelena dumps it in. Lucier clears it out. Roy Murray dropped it to Lemieux. His shot goes wide. And the fans who remain here in the stadium rising to their feet. They're going to give the Hawks an ovation, a nice ovation for an outstanding year. It will, to their dismay, come to an end here tonight. 20 seconds left. Cleared around the boards. And listen to the crowd. The home team, friends, is getting smoked tonight. They got blown out by the Oilers. But the crowd giving the Blackhawks a standing ovation.
And deservedly so. They've given these fans a lot of good hockey this year. And it's, the first 2 rounds of 14 games really, I think, took its toll. As the Oilers won 4 straight against LA and had a week off to recover and get ready for this series.
On to Boston for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's all over for the Chicago Blackhawks. Keenan and Muckler exchanging greetings as the players congratulate one another amongst their teammates, and now the ceremonial handshake at the end of the series. And I wonder how many times there's been a series in any situation that went 6 games in which there was only 1 major penalty. These 2 teams went at it tooth and nail, very physically. At times there was some chippy play, but you can imagine that as they exchange greetings, the players on these teams have gained an awful lot of respect for their opponents.
Well, the Blackhawks showed a lot of character in Game 5 where they were dominated by the Oilers in the first period. 3-1 the score. It could have been higher. Hawks battled back, and I think that's where they gained a lot of respect from the Oilers, because the Oilers, to a man, said they couldn't believe that the Hawks would have enough left to battle back like that in Game 5.
Shots on goal. Edmonton 4 for game 28.
John Muckler's team now. He was a co-coach with Glenn Sather. The Oilers win the Campbell Conference Trophy. for the 6th time. They go to the finals once again. 4 Stanley Cups. They lost to the Islanders in the final before they won those 4 cups.
Nearly complete, and again the fans who remain cheering the Blackhawks, and the last man off the ice will be Dwayne Sutter, and it might be the last time he appears in a Chicago sweater. A lot of questions will be answered, of course, for a lot of people, and all that on-ice ceremony is complete. There will be one downstairs, though, however, as the Campbell Conference trophy will be presented to the Edmonton Oilers. And we'll have that for you in just a moment as they get ready for that downstairs. With the visiting team winning tonight, they're going to do it below deck, which is probably a very wise idea. But the Blackhawks just ran out of steam. There were not enough healthy bodies. Ryan O'Neill on hand to represent the league. Bill Ranford with
6 of those.
More fine play tonight, particularly early. This game could have certainly turned the other way if Ranford was not as sharp early as he was, but he was terrific. And as the game wore on, his offense just took over for him, and Ranford, the forgotten man in some respects, but with all the injury problems Grant Fuhr has had this year, Bill Ranford turned in an outstanding performance all season long. He had 24 wins, which tied him for 4th overall among goaltenders. And he's now picked up 12 more victories in postseason play, but the 12 he's gotten are not as important to him as the 4 more that he wants. And let's go downstairs. Brian O'Neill on hand to represent the NHL.
3 great series. This is the 6th time in the last 8 years that you've done this. It's a remarkable feat. And we're very pleased on behalf of the league to present you with the Clarence Campbell Trophy, emblematic of winning this conference. Congratulations to all of you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Way to go, Wes. Thank you very much. Well, what do you do? What do I do now? I'd just like to accept this on behalf of my teammates, and it's a small step to our goal that we started out at the start of the year, which is the Stanley Cup, and this is just a small goal towards it. Thank you. Yeah! All right. Go, Harry. Great job.
There you go, Muck. Hey, John. Happy to get that trophy, but there's another one he wants much more than that. Edmonton wins it tonight. They go on to meet Boston in the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll have more after this timeout.
9:45 live on Sports Channel.
For Edmonton, it is on to Boston as the Oilers shellac the Blackhawks tonight by a score of 8-4. Mark Messier standing by downstairs, the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. And Mark, I know you feel that the score tonight not indicative of the play in this series, but once you guys got it rolling in the second period, it seemed to not stop.
Well, we knew that we certainly didn't want a 7th game, and we all know what can happen in the 7th games. You know, a bad break here, a bad break there. So we really wanted to try to put it away tonight, and I thought we came up with a good first period again, which got us the lead, and we never looked back.
Well, Mark, let's take a look at your goal that really put the finishing touches on the second period. And as I said, once the floodgates started to open, you guys just rolled right through them.
Well, Glenn Anderson was really flying tonight and just made a super pass to me here, and I had pretty well the whole open net to finish the playoff. So I think Simmer and Andy did the work on that one for me.
Well, I'm sure you're very happy to accept the Clarence Campbell Trophy, but I think there's another one you want a little more, isn't there?
Well, I think that's, you know, we've come a long way since the start of the year. You know, we've been playing some pretty good hockey. We've had some pretty tough tests up until now, and we're looking forward to Boston. We're happy to be in the finals, and you know, we'll go from here.
Mark, in Game 4, the team changed its style more into a bump and grind type style. You had an open game in Game 3 and lost. Can you play that style? Is that the style you're going to have to incorporate against the Boston Bruins?
Well, we haven't even talked about Boston right now. We've been focusing too much on this series right now, and it's all we could do to get out of this series. So we got a couple of days now, and I'm sure we'll have to see what Boston was up to in their series, and we'll come up with a game plan from there.
I know that it seemed like, of course, last year, and there was a lot of talk about it, and you're almost tired of hearing about the Gretzky-less Oilers, but last year it seemed like John Muckler was saying you were trying to find yourselves. Looks like you might have done that.
Well, you know, we've certainly made some changes this year, but don't get anybody wrong from our organization. We'd certainly like to have Wayne sitting here playing with us right now. But we've come great strides since the start of the year. We've moved people in to help us win, because obviously we had to make changes when we didn't win last year, and we did those, and we've been playing some pretty good hockey.
Mark, congratulations. An excellent performance. It's always a pleasure to watch you play, and we'll wish you a whole lot of luck against the Boston Bruins.
Thank you very much.
That's Mark Messier, the leader and captain of the Edmonton Oilers, turning in another fine performance tonight. And the Oilers on to meet the Bruins. Similar rinks, I suppose. There'll be a little bit more close quarters in the Boston Garden, but they'll have to find a way to get by their old teammate Andy Moog.
Well, it'll be a great series. The Bruins winning the regular season and winning the playoffs in fine fashion. Andy Moog, a former Oiler, will have something to prove to them, obviously, so that should be an interesting matchup. But the Oilers have proven, especially in this series, they can play either way. If you want to play a physical grinding game, they're capable of doing that, and they also can play the freewheeling offensive type game. So it should be a great matchup and a great series.
An excellent year for the Chicago Blackhawks comes to an end. Norris Division champions in both the regular season and the playoffs, but the Edmonton Oilers proved to be too much as the Hawks fell short tonight. Edmonton wins the series 4-2. They win Game 6 by a score of 8-4.
Strange. NHL Studios in New York, I'm Bob Papa. Edmonton beat Chicago by an 8-4 final score. They win the series 4-2. Since the league went to the present format with the Campbell Conference Finals being the Smythe against the Norris Division is now 0-8. In fact, the Norris Division has never won 3 games in this series. So Edmonton goes on to their 6th Stanley Cup final in the past 8 years. 6 weeks ago, 16 teams started out on the road to the Stanley Cup, and we're down to a final 2. Edmonton beat Chicago 4-2. Boston sweeps Washington 4-0. It will be a rematch of the 1988 Stanley Cup Finals, beginning right here on Sports Channel America on Tuesday evening at 7:30 Eastern Time. Edmonton at the Boston Garden back in 1988 with Wayne Gretzky. The Oilers beat the Bruins 4-0. Well, that wraps it up from our studios here in New York. I'm Bob Papa. Don't forget, Mike Breen comes up next. He'll give you all the day's scores and highlights from the rest of the action in the sporting world. Once again, the final score, the Edmonton Oilers 8, Chicago 4. I'm Bob Papa in New York. Now let's look at the names of the people who made tonight's broadcast possible.